What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
Small fringe minority.
All right. What is it? Friday night? That means it's the Friday night Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. How's everybody doing? Who we got in here? We got Izzy in here, Spambot, Rosie, Metalmouth. How you guys doing? Hope everybody had a great week. All right. So we got lots to talk about tonight. Lots and lots to talk about. This could be a long one. Sometimes I say that and it's not that long, but it could be. Could be a long one. All right. Who got the first like tonight before we get into it? Izzy got the first like. You know what that means? That's double good karma. Double good karma. Now, of course, anybody who likes the stream gets a patented dose of good karma from Radio Baloney. But when you're the first, and that's whether you're the first on YouTube, on Rumble, on X, on Locals, because we're streaming to all of those, you get double good karma. You could get 8 times good karma if you get the first on everything. I mean, I think it's worth it. In these troubled times, can you afford to turn your face away from that kind of good karma? I wouldn't do it, personally. Also, subscribing. If you're not subscribed, do that immediately right now and get your good karma. Why wouldn't you do that? Are you crazy? All right. What are you guys saying? So it looks like Izzy got like number 1. Spambot congratulated Izzy. That's very sportsmanlike. Rosie, how you doing? Congrats on Izzy. It's a very sportsmanlike chat that I have. Maybe the most sportsmanlike in all of the internet, perhaps. Let's see. Spambot's working overtime for the long weekend. Uh-oh. Let's see. Haven't looked at X in a few days. That's probably not bad. That's not really a bad thing for your soul. All right. Let's see. Posey Poet, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome back to the most important moment in your life. It is. Every moment on Radio Baloney Live is the most important moment in everybody's life, or maybe just mine, or maybe everybody's. I don't know. All I know is you get that beautiful, sweet, good karma when you subscribe or like the stream. That's the most important thing. All right, everyone. What are we going to talk about? Let's go through the menu. Let's go through the menu first, and then we'll get back to the chat, and then we will get into everything in detail. So I've been saying that, we've done so much election stuff over the last, I don't know, like year, really, like all the lead up to the US election, and then, leading up and through the Canadian election, the very disappointing, baffling Canadian election. What the hell happened? How could Canadians be so goddamn retarded? I have no idea. But in any case, now that we're through all of that, we want to, of course, we're going to do politics. Of course, this is a political channel, but we want to do some other stuff as well. Give ourselves a little bit of breathing room until the next time we've got to obsess over an election or whatever. Maybe there'll be an early election in Canada. Who knows? So anyway, what are we going to talk about first? I finally watched that Nosferatu movie. Nosferatu. And it's got really good critical scores. The viewer, regular person score is 73%, which is pretty good, but it's not amazing. Robert Eggers, I like his other films, except for The Lighthouse, which I found to be just kind of gross and boring, really. Just kind of gross and boring. But I like The Witch. That's a great movie. The Northman, fantastic. Apparently, it didn't make any money until finally when it came out on, View on Demand. That's a great movie. This one, okay, we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about Harvard. The elite universities are just insane. They absolutely all need to be, in every Western country, by the way, all need to be defunded of any public funds. No tax dollars should go towards the, Harvard's pyramid of white supremacy. Guess what? Spoiler alert, you're a white supremacist no matter what. According to Harvard, according to their pyramid of white supremacy, pretty much just everybody is. Anybody who disagrees with the most crazy crackpot racial theories in the world is a white supremacist, according to Harvard. We're going to get into that a little bit because it's just totally bonkers. I mean, now they're having to do like a bit of a self-purge, perhaps, because of this whole thing where Trump's going to deny them money, which they love money, I think, most of all. But in any case, we're going to go through that. Trump tariffs, we're going to get into this. The Canada is just a shit show. Every elbows up liberal, including the Brantford Boomer, all got played. It's just a joke. There's absolutely nothing different. It's just he is maybe a more cunning Trudeau. He's an older, more hobgoblin-like version of Trudeau. Nothing is changing. We're going to get into that. The cabinet is the same. Everything is the same. It's only going to be on turbo. And will the people who voted for this gargoyle ever regret it? Will they ever come to their senses? Most won't. We don't need all of them to. We need like about 6% of them to. In any case, I'm in the process of de-blackpilling myself after that election. The last election was pretty depressing. It just seemed incomprehensible that this would get elected for a fourth liberal term. Just baffling to me. I overestimated the common sense of the Canadian people, and I underestimated the power of the legacy media in Canada. I underestimated the power of TV said. Anyway, we'll get into all of that stuff. So we're going to do we're getting our political stuff in. We'll look at the cabinet. It's just all the same thing. It's unbelievable. We'll see Pierre Poilievre responding to all of this. So we're going to do our share of Canadian politics, but not like we were doing before. We'll get through it relatively quickly. We're going to do American politics, of course, because we haven't done much of that. It's time we got back into it again for all of my American viewers, who are very important to me. Let's see. We got some RFK Jr. here. It's great. And I've got another one of my patented RFK Jr. impersonations coming, and it's just as offensive as any. I like RFK Jr., but it's fun to impersonate him, and you kind of have to be a bit offensive when you do it. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. We've got Tulsi Gabbard here. I mean, if you want to just take a look at the difference in cabinets, like you look at the Trump cabinet, and then you look at the Carney cabinet, which is just these are, if they weren't ministers before, right? They were in the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party now is the illiberal party of Canada. To be in the party, you have to be illiberal. You have to be a radical leftist. That's just the way it is. You take a look at Carney's people. You take a look at Carney, like this guy, Guilbeault, this guy. I mean, this is the guy who ruined immigration and ruined housing. And now, is he finance? Yeah, now he's going to ruin everything else. You look at these guys, and then you look at who Trump has. He's got RFK Jr., used to be a Democrat, big tent. You've got Tulsi. Used to be a Democrat. Brought in under that big tent. I mean, you're actually getting some heterodoxy in with the Trump government, which is quite amazing. You're getting these sane Democrats who still have some good ideas. I mean, they're not Democrats anymore because they've been so demonized by their own people that they're just lost now, obviously, right? But you want to take a look at a difference. Competent, principled people, formidable people like Tulsi, like RFK Jr., formidable, smart, competent people versus I got arrested because I climbed the CN Tower because I'm a climate lunatic. Great. Thanks, Carney. Thanks. We'll take a look at that. We got our favorite VDH. Everybody loves a bit of VDH on this channel. Victor Davis Hanson talking about Elon Musk and why the media hates him and the media assault on Elon Musk. I think Victor David Hanson is basically a national treasure of the United States at this point. He's just so calm, but he's so incisive and smart and articulate. He's great. We're going to take a look at some memes. We always have some memes, don't we? Because they're fun. We love the memes, especially when they're offensive. What do we got here? We're going to talk a little bit more about South Africa. I made a big, long clip video from the live stream where we talked about that, which very few people have seen. So if you didn't see that live stream, I made a more digestible, I think it's about 20-minute long clip video. That's worth watching. But this is like alternate universe stuff to me, that just the lunacy, the left just taking the mask off. They just don't care anymore if you know that they want you dead. We're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about the Trump plane. And I have some ideas on that. But, we have to go a little deeper because, it's Qatar. And then there's a bunch of stuff Qatar's been up to. So we're going to get into all of that. EU, apparently the German government lied about the AfD being an extremist party. Some papers were leaked, and now they've had to admit that. It just seems like there's a percentage of the German population that just wants to be led by a dictator, by dictators. It just seems like that. I mean, there's a lot of people fighting against that. Obviously, the AfD is, I believe, the most popular party in Germany now. But there's some constituency there that just wants to do what they're told. And it doesn't matter what it is. You could call it communism, fascism, whatever, as long as they're being told what to do. It scares me for the good Germans, which is apparently most of them now. Just that their government hates them. So there you go. Let's see. We get to the last one. What the heck is this thing? What is this? What is this? That's like not even human. Let's go. Hold on. Normally we save these to the end, but I mean, did we look at this before? I don't know. Must be jelly because jam don't shake. Huh. There's just masses of whale fat shake. I don't know. But it's not good. None of this is good. I was going to save this for later, but maybe we'll just start with this one. Did I write something down about this one? I don't know. It doesn't even look human, right? It's like some monster from Greek myth or something that like Odysseus had to fight, had to slay to get home, only fatter. I don't know. Is this the Matrix? Like, are the people who control the Matrix just messing with us now? How can that even be a real thing? I mean, I've got a button for this. I don't like to use the button, to be honest. I think it's in very poor taste, but I kind of have to just because it's the internet. Oh dear. There we go. That's troubling. Yikes. And can barely move. Dear me. Something wrong. That's something wrong. Is there somebody who's attracted? There must be somebody who's attracted to that. All right. Let's see. What are people saying about this? If I was 700 pounds, how long would it take to starve if I only drank water forever? Asking Grok this. Well, that's an interesting question. Hey there. So you're curious about how long it would take to starve if you were 700 pounds and only drank water forever? Well, let's dive into this. First off, I got to say that's a pretty intense scenario to think about. Okay. Body would start breaking down those fat stores for energy, but eventually it would turn to muscle tissue once the fat is gone. But I mean, that fat would last a while. This process can be pretty rough on your body, leading to all sorts of health issues. As for a guess, I'd say it could take several months, maybe even close to a year, depending on various factors like your overall health. Is that serious? Grok is saying this person could live for perhaps a year just on their own fat. Good Lord. What is going on? What is going a year? I mean, even months, I find that hard to believe, like nothing but water. I mean, I don't know. Like, that's insane. A year, perhaps, a year. This woman could live for a year on her own fat. So, I mean, the problem is if there was like an apocalypse situation and like you couldn't get food for like a year, people would become cannibals, and this one can't run. So I'm afraid that's going to be somebody else is going to be living off her fat for a long time. A family for, well, I guess, 4 people, 2 adults, 2 kids. I'm going to say 3 months then. She can feed a family for 3 months in the apocalypse. I don't know. People get hungry. All right. So let's go away from that and go to this. All right. Our boating show. All right. Bit of ranch juice. So I'm actually finally feeling way better, you guys, which is good news. Except the only thing left is now I wake up in the morning and like my eyes are sealed shut by like this gunk on my eyes, and this is the last thing. And it's starting to get better. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Am I cursed? Like, I don't think I'm Job or anything, right? But I mean, what's going on? Anyway, everything, I'm almost perfect again. Let's see. Metal Mouth says, my fiance is a big girl, but she ain't that damn big. Nothing wrong with a bit of junk in the trunk. But I mean, that's extreme. When you could live for a year on your own fat alone and just water, that's too much. I don't care what anybody says. All right, what are you guys saying? Let's see. MHJ, good to see ya. Hello to you. Let's see. Posey Poet went long weekend and gas prices jumped 20 cents per liter. Yep, that's what happens. Dame Pam says, half of us are not retarded. I know you guys aren't, but now we're in for another 4 years of hell up here in Canada. Now, there's about 42% of Canadians that are not retarded. And the rest we've got to work on. So I don't know. It's very, it's depressing. I have to say it's depressing. Feels like Groundhog's Day just all over again. But I don't know. We'll get through it, people. Metal Mouth says the 1925 silent black and white version of Phantom of the Opera is stellar. I don't think I've ever watched it, but that's one to check out. Everybody, take note of that. Let's see. Nevada says it's Friday. Friday's good. Let's see. That means tomorrow is Boxing Day for me, although there's only boxing in the morning. Let's see. Because it's in Europe. Rosie says, well, darn, and I tried so hard to be kind and accepting. Shocked to find out that white supremacy is unavoidable. Is it my voting choice, my skin color, my friends of all races? It's all of those things. You can't get away from it. It's almost like the whole thing is rigged. Let's see. Metalmouth says, Rosie, it's the fact that you don't swallow the liberal propaganda bullshit, hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, I think we need to stop using the word liberal, really. I mean, we have the Liberal Party in Canada, but they're not liberal. They're illiberal. It's a radical progressive. Like, none of what's happening on the left is liberal, right? This is all authoritarian leftism. It's a totally different thing. I mean, it seems to be the kind of inevitable destination of liberalism, but it's, like a Brett Weinstein is not the same thing as an Ilhan Omar. Metalmouth says EU needs to be disbanded immediately. I think I hear from a lot of sources who seem to know what they're talking about. On things like the Duran, that EU is kind of doomed. Maybe it's got like 10 years. The EU is a basket case, and it's not helping itself with all the Ukraine stuff. Total lunacy. Dame Pam says she needs a much larger bathtub. That lady, yeah, the one who could live on her own fat for a year. She sure does. Oh. Spambot, hey, Spambot, how you doing? Let's see. She needs a plunger extension to clean herself. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. I can't believe I even said that. Oh, what's going on here? Spambot is at it again. Holy macaroni. MHJ was gifted a membership by Spambot fodder. Well, you know what that means, people. You know what that makes Spambot? The best person who has ever lived that's alive today, throughout all of history, the best person ever. And it's even better than that, because Spambot also gifted Metalmouth a membership as well. Can you believe it, people? That's double best person ever for Spambot. Wait a second. It doesn't even end there. Holy macaroni. Dame Pam was also gifted a membership by Spambot fodder. I can't believe it. That's 3 times. So it's like if Spambot was the best person who ever lived in all of history, including like right now, but then times 3. So 3 times better than that, which is frankly leaving everybody else behind in his dust. I've got to be honest. I mean, I love all you guys, but I got to be honest about this. Kind of leaving you in his dust a little bit. And it's all for less than the cost of 2 large lattes at Woke Bucks, if you can believe that. I mean, one more time. I believe that is now, Spambot has now donated, I think, 857,000 free memberships, which is really impressive. At this point, I'm willing to say that Spambot fodder is basically a god, I think. Thank you very much, Spambot. It's awesome. Let's see. Dame Pam says, how can anyone let themselves get that fat? Well, it's not the lady on the screen we're talking about, but yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. I bring her back up again, but I don't think you guys want to see it. It steals part of your soul. Let's see. All right. Nevada says, I go to a pizza in the oven and come back to this. I'm sorry I did that to you. I do apologize. She would be the first to go in a zombie apocalypse, Metal Mouth says. Yes, absolutely. Like, Ford Think can't run. Also, feed a family of 4 for a month, 2 months, 3 months. I don't know. Let's see. Rosie says, castor oil on your eyelids will heal that. Let me write it down. I have the best chant on the internet. I'm telling you. Let me write that down. Castor oil. Wow. On eyelids. But don't get it in my eyes, though. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see. Rosie is eating hard-boiled eggs, olives, and avocados. Well, that sounds very nice. That's healthy. So you won't turn into that giant lady who's going to get eaten by a family of 4 in the apocalypse. Dame Pam says there's still a lot in Canada that never voted. Yeah. And then Elections Canada returned some mail-in ballots, so they never got counted. I'm seeing that. It's funny how it just everything seems to be going in the Liberals' favor. I don't want to get conspiratorial, but I try and get out, but they pulled me back in again with this bullshit. And they wait, the recount, it's by 1 vote. It just seems very odd. All of the new votes or Liberal votes, it just it's starting to feel like there's something going on. I haven't made a full video or done a full segment, and I don't have one ready for tonight, but it's something I'm probably going to have to get into. I don't want to, but I'm going to have to do it. But yeah, there's still a lot in Canada that never voted, that haven't voted. Those people have to find the line where they realize that they may not be interested in politics, but politics is very interested in them and their bank accounts. So it's not, I was feeling very black-pilled right after the election. I'm starting to come around now, and I'm starting to feel a bit more optimistic because it's 43 point something to 41 point something. They managed to get 11% of the NDP vote. Will that happen again next time? I'm not so sure. I mean, if they can get a charismatic, competent leader for the NDP, maybe not. Maybe the NDP vote, those NDP voters who went to the Liberals, some went to the Conservatives, but I think those had already moved. Those working class voters that had gone from the NDP to the Conservatives, I think they'd already moved well before the election. But those NDP voters who voted for the Liberals, who united the left vote, they might be very disillusioned. Or maybe they're just brain dead. I don't know. And they'll just do what TV says. Probably just do what TV says. So I guess we have to get those people who, find that line where they realize they just simply have to start caring about politics. Let's see. Metal Mouth is in the States. Yeah, I think it's like half and half, Canada and States. And then we get people from, not too many people. I know I do have viewers from other countries as well, from like Europe or Australia. I get people from all over the world, actually. But they usually don't jump in the chat. Dame Pam says, Ontario and Quebec hold most of the seats in Parliament, so the rest of us don't have fair say or representation. Well, we don't even, like, Alberta doesn't have fair representation anyway, right? Like, Atlantic Canada gets more seats than Alberta, and they've got less people. It's not fair. That's something that needs to be redressed. All right. Man, the chat is very busy tonight. Hold on. Metal Mouth says, I have nothing against Canada or Europe. It's the respective governments of those places that I have a problem with. I do too. I think everybody on here has a problem with those respective governments. I've been fighting the one here hard. I cannot tell you how depressing it was to realize that I had far overestimated the number of Canadians who could just see common sense, and who were, immune to TV says. So, no, you're right. You're right to have a problem. In Europe, I mean, it's grotesque. Let's see. Swambot says, I think that's my 42nd gifted sub in the last 2 months. That's a lot. 42 is a lot. Spambot is awesome. Everybody should learn from Spambot. Let's see. All right. I think we're going to have to start getting into stores. We're already half an hour in. I'll check out the last couple of chats here. Let's see. Metalmouth says, any metalheads in the chat? I used to be a metalhead, and I still like some, but I was like an 80s metalhead, like Pyromania, Def Leppard, and then Metallica, like Ride the Lightning, and like pre the Black Album stuff. Ozzy, Black Sabbath, the usual stuff. Rosie says, we are busy in chat. You keep interrupting us and have not even shared what you had for dinner. Yes, that's what you guys have been talking about, what you had for dinner. Princess Baloney made me some delicious chicken fried rice. Fantastic. Let's see. I'm going to ask, has anybody, this is not really metal. It's like, but it's like, it's known as punk. They're known as a punk band, but they're not really punk. They're more like, I don't know. Has anybody ever heard of No Means No out there? No Means No. The album Wrong. This is one of those bands, Wrong and 0 + 2 = 1. And there's a bunch of other great stuff too, but those are the two best albums by them. They're like this band that came out of like the British Columbia punk scene, but they're not really punk. Like they're extremely talented players. But just an amazing, probably the best band that nobody's ever heard of. Like the album Wrong is astonishingly good. And it's heavy. Let's see. Amazing Faces was gifted a membership by Spambot. What are you doing? You've lost your mind. That's 4 times the best person in the world. So it's like the best person in the world times 4 for Spambot. Beautiful. Beautiful. Loving it. Let's see. Metal Mouth, Metallica, Pantera, Slipknot, Avenged Sevenfold, and a bunch of others among my favorites. Yeah, I was more into like the earlier stuff. Let's see. Rolling Penny asked, do you think part of Canada can break off from the woke part? Anything is possible. It would be long and complicated, but I've said it many times. History goes slow, and then really fast, and people wake up in a world they don't recognize. And that's just history. That's what you can count on. That's a guaranteed to happen everywhere at some point. So it absolutely can happen. Is it likely to right now? No, I think if Pierre Poilievre had won, if the Conservatives had won, that just would have gone away very quickly. It wouldn't have gone away entirely. It still would have been simmering in the background. and they would have been waiting to see what he did, but they wouldn't really have been the need for it had he won. But now that he hasn't, yeah, it's not, the issue isn't going to go away. I'll put it that way. Amazing Faces says, well, thanks. It wasn't me. It was Spambot Fodder who gifted you that membership. It was Spambot. So you got to thank Spambot. But I'm glad you're with us. Spambot says, if my postal code polling is accurate, Alberta will be its own country soon enough. It absolutely could happen. We have a couple of fiancés in the chat. Metalmouth, good evening. Rolling Pony, love you, baby. Rolling Pony is my fiancé, and we live together. Well, congratulations, you guys. If this channel is about anything, it's about love. All right. Rolling Pony says, Carney destroyed the Bank of England. Well, yeah, so one thing that is so grotesque about the legacy media in Canada, I know it's the same everywhere, right? I know it's the same everywhere, but where is Carney? Where is that liar? One thing about the legacy media in Canada is that it's like everywhere else, right? So we were told about this man, this hobgoblin, this globalist technocrat hobgoblin's credentials. And I know like at least one person who voted on credentials, right? We were told about the resume, and you have to vote for him because Oxford economist, right? And, chairman of the Bank of England. What they didn't do is go at all beyond any of that. We got to hear about the Bank of England, but they didn't tell us anything. It's like, hey, look at the credentials, Bank of England, right? But don't look too close. Don't look too close. Just trust us when we say that's really impressive. Don't look into it. Liz Truss was in Canada. Independent media talked to her. CBC, Global, CTV, none of them had the slightest bit of interest in talking to her. Former Prime Minister of the UK. None of them had this. Of course, she would have talked to them. If like Cian Bexley got a quote out of her, of course she would have gone on CBC. They weren't interested. They wanted to tell you about his credentials, how impressive it was that he was the chairman of the Bank of England. They didn't want you to know anything beyond that. I'm telling you right now, maybe they did an interview with Liz Truss, who had some very negative things to say about Mark Carney, about his money printing, about the way he'd wrecked their economy, about how damaging the net zero stuff was that he was pushing there. Had they interviewed Liz Truss, maybe that does turn the election. Maybe that does break the spell. That's why they didn't talk to her. It is so grotesque, right? Do you know that England now, because of the net zero stuff that he was pushing, and he was very influential and powerful in the UK, because of that, England now has the highest electricity prices in the world. Or, sorry, I should say in Europe, maybe the world, but the highest in Europe. You have pensioners there who now have to choose between food and heating their homes in the winter because of this man. We didn't hear about any of that, did we, for some reason? Oh, it's because, didn't Mark Carney promise to give the CBC a $150 million a year raise if he got elected? If he got elected. I don't think he even needed to do that, to be honest, because they're all ideologically aligned anyway, and they hate Pierre Poilievre, and Pierre Poilievre was promising to defund the CBC. How was it possible that the CBC didn't have to recuse himself from any opinion? I mean, maybe they could just report the facts. I'm not sure they're capable of doing that anyway. Maybe really they should have had to just recuse themselves from covering the election, quite honestly. I mean, there's just such an obvious conflict of interest, and the bias was so clear and transparent and obvious and in everybody's face. It's grotesque. They talk about democracy as if they actually care about it. Anyway, I'm getting some rants in already. What's going on? All right. All right, I think I better just get started. There's too much chat. I better just get going. All right. So, first off, again, I said we're going to try and do a little bit of stuff that's not politics just to keep it fresh. We've done so much politics, so much election stuff. I want to talk about this movie Nosferatu. I finally watched it. I heard that it was great and it was brilliant and terrifying and all this stuff. And I like the director and the writer of it, Robert Eggers. The Witch was really good. The Lighthouse, I didn't like. I just thought it was kind of gross and boring, quite frankly, and just kind of impenetrable. Then I liked The Northman. The Northman was his next film. I thought that was great. That was really interesting. It was just fun. It was, it was weird. He makes weird movies, but it balanced it out with the action, and it was cool. It was grim, but it was an interesting movie. And then he followed it up with Nosferatu. So it seems like he makes a good one, then not so good, then not so good again. Nosferatu, I didn't find it that great, I have to be honest. Yeah, so should we watch a little bit of the trailer for it, actually? Let's see if I can find the trailer for it. What's this? Do I have it in here? Give me 1 second. Let me pull up the trailer for it. Now, have you guys watched it? I want to ask, have you guys watched it? Because I want to know what you guys had to think about it. Okay, here we go. Here's the trailer. Before we do, Spambot says the Northman movie was very good. Yeah, I loved it. Bellamouth says, I've even seen the original black and white silent Nosferatu. Excellent movie. Okay, so but did you see this new one? The Robert Eggers one. So let's watch a little bit of the trailer here. Hopefully this won't get copyrighted on YouTube. Maybe I'll have to keep the clip kind of short. It looks great. It's shot really well. It's a beautifully filmed movie. That's not the problem with it. Let's skip forward a little bit to kind of the end where it gets weird.
It's coming.
There is a devil in this world, and I have met him.
But you could never please me as he could.
All right, so that is here. This is, where is she? There she is. That's Johnny Depp's daughter, by the way. So that's Lily Rose Depp. She's very good in it, actually. So let me check the oh, god damn it. Sorry, guys. All right, we'll go back and watch it again. Damn it. All right, hold on. We're going to go back and watch it again. Yeah, so that is Lily Rose Depp. That's Johnny Depp's daughter, and she's actually very good in this. She's actually the best part of the movie, I think. It should really have been scarier than it was. So let's see. Spambot says Joker showed it on a Saturdays at the movie on locals recently. Okay. Spambot says I have watched. Let's see. Can't see it. Share your screen. Yes. Classic radio baloney. Streamer says, how you doing, Streamer? You guys are trying to warn me. I'm in my own little world sometimes. Okay. So spoiler alerts. So anybody who hasn't seen, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of an old story. You kind of know what's happening anyway, right? But, just in case, spoiler alerts. I'm not going to give you anything that's like too crazy spoilery. Maybe just at the very end and ruin that part for you. But so basic story, vampire story, right? So it's a guy and his wife, and she is having weird nightmares and stuff, and she has a past of some mental issues. And with the husband, they're very much in love. The husband is sent off from this town Visburg in Germany it was like the 1800s or 1700s or something, or 1600s, I don't know, somewhere a couple hundred years ago probably. Sent off to Transylvania to basically close a real estate deal. with Count Orlok. And the shadow figure there is Count Orlok. And Count Orlok has this kind of cosmic connection to the guy's wife, Lily Rose Depp there. And anyway, the husband gets attacked by Count Orlok. He ends up escaping. Count Orlok's going to go back to Visburg to claim the wife because they have this cosmic connection thing. The husband races back, and then you have the finale where the vampire dies, obviously. They never end with the vampire living happily ever after. Let's see. Metalmouth says it's not as good as the original. Probably not. I mean, it's not great. Rosie says, I do not like scary. I have my hands over my eyes, that ear saying, la, 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 la. It's like, I wouldn't say it's even scary, really. It's just kind of gross and disturbing at times, which I'm not sure if that's better. Rolling Penny says, I've been purposefully watching older movies, the woke messaging. Yeah, I found myself watching a bunch of older movies for a while, and then I just kind of stopped watching movies. But I checked this one out because I watched his other movies, and they're not woke. And this one is not woke either. All right, so, and the thing about a movie not being woke, that is my bare kind of base level requirement for a movie. So if I can feel it turning into some sort of, race or gender lecture, or at least, obviously so, I just turn it off immediately. I have wasted too many hours. I've wasted too much of my time trying to get through that kind of garbage, just art that hates me. So if I'm starting to sense that the art hates me, I just turn it off now. So, and if there's any hint, I'm not even starting it, right? If I just hear somebody say, oh, that's woke, I'm just not even bothering. Maybe I'm missing out on some good movies because of that. Don't care. Don't want to waste my time. I don't have time to watch a lot of movies, so I don't want to just completely waste my time. And I'm not saying this was a waste of time either. It's definitely not woke, so it passed that bar, right? A lot of people really love it. It seems like people either love this movie or they're just like, meh, it's not very good, boring, whatever, right? But it's not woke. So you might really like it. Some people love this movie, and I can see why they would. It just wasn't quite enough for me. And like Robert Eggers, he's definitely a talented filmmaker. So you might like it. I'm definitely happy to check out whatever his next film is. But as for the pluses on this, yes, so not woke. Immediately, that's a good thing right off the bat. Lily Rose Depp is excellent. She's got amazing range in it. She's really the best part of the movie. Great cinematography as usual. I thought the music was pretty good. But the movie is fairly stunning at times. Negatives, basically everything else. So it's boring. It took me, 3 or 4 nights to get through it. So that's not a good sign. I wanted to get through it. I thought I should just finish this, but it took me 3 or 4 nights to get through it. And the ending was a big disappointment. 2 main problems. I thought the monster, Count Orlok, is actually more horrifying in the original. So he's kind of a disappointment. So here's the new Count Orlok, and then there's the old one. Now the old one is creepy as hell, right? Creepy as hell and kind of different and unique. Right? That's a weird, creepy dude right there, right? This guy just kind of looks more like just a movie monster, really. I don't know how much of it was just like makeup and how much of it was at least enhanced with CGI stuff. I have no idea how much of it was just practical effects. But it just kind of is not that interesting. I mean, this guy, yeah, it's kind of goofy looking, but the goofiness just makes him look all the more creepy to me. I mean, look at him. Look at that freak. That's a freak right there. This guy is just kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of a letdown. I was hoping for this guy, something like this. And then it's just that guy. It's like, I don't know. So that was disappointing right off the bat. I didn't find them that scary, really. The original guy is more horrifying, even if he is kind of goofy looking. So, yeah, even with like modern filmmaking techniques, this Nosferatu is kind of a letdown. That should have gone with something closer to the original. That's just what I think. The ending is just not good. Now, it does hold true to the original ending from the 1922 film. I haven't watched that. I don't know how they executed that. But even though, I mean, yes, it's true to the original, but the problem is that it still sucks. It's still just a bad ending, right? So I don't think that the heroine banging the monster to death is necessarily, for me, a satisfying conclusion to, like a hero's journey movie. Just literally, she just banged the monster to death. Spoiler alert. Essentially, that's what happened. I mean, it's a little bit more sophisticated than that, I'll say, but essentially that's what happens, right? So it's kind of subversive. I mean, especially for 1922. It just didn't work for me, though. It was I'm just anticlimactic, no pun intended. So, and again, I'm just not buying. So anyway, spoiler alert, she basically bangs a vampire until the sun comes up and then he dies because he's supposed to be in his coffin by the time the sun comes up. And I was just like, what, he forgot? Like this centuries old vampire who knows very well that he's got to get into his coffin every morning. He just forgets because he was just having fun with some German tart. And, well, she asked me to stay over. I mean, what could I do? Right? I don't know. If you don't want to die, you get back into your coffin. So I don't know. I didn't find that believable. I was like, wait, really? We're supposed to just believe that he just was like, I don't know. I was just having fun. I'm just not buying it. I don't know. I have nothing else. That's it. That's all I have on that. Okay. You might really like it. There's some really, interesting things about the way that it's shot, and maybe you like the story better. Maybe you find the ending more believable. It's not like it's a trash movie or a bad movie. It's very well done. It's just a letdown is all. It wasn't great, and I was expecting great. So maybe if I was expecting okay, I would have liked it a lot more. But again, the Count Orlok, it just not as creepy as I thought it would be. They should have gone with the old guy. Just copied the old guy completely. That guy's way creepier. All right, so let's get back to the chat. What are you guys saying? Let's see. Purposefully watching older movies. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. It's so interesting when you go back and watch a movie from, 20 years ago. And when I do it, it just makes me feel happy. And I was watching, like, I don't know, Kelly's Heroes or something, and it just made me feel really good. And, I guess some nostalgia from like movies I watched when I was a kid. But I realized, wait a second, this isn't woke. There's no lectures in this. They're just trying to make a good movie. And it is really noticeable, just the difference in tone and just the intent. Like, they're just trying to make a good movie. They're not trying to indoctrinate you. It's really, really noticeable. And it just feels like home when you watch one of those, like The Dirty Dozen or something, or just, I don't know, like any movie from the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s before woke. Rosie says, yeah, all new entertainment works in woke. Almost all. It's starting to go away now. Now, there's a bunch of stuff that's still, been in the pipeline for years, like that Ironheart Marvel thing coming out that's still going to come out. But it seems like the studio heads are starting to figure out, especially after the recent disasters in the woke movies, the woke takes on like Snow White and others, that they need to just get back to making movies again and not lecturing. JDL says, I worked at a theater where we played the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Interesting experience. Yeah, I mean, that would actually be pretty fun, I think, because obviously the crowd knows every line and they throw stuff and sounds like fun. Rosie makes a recommendation, Nanas with Vince Vaughn. I haven't heard of that actually, but maybe I'll check it out. Izzy says you're not missing anything if it's woke. It's just a waste of time. It's just indoctrination. Spambot says, I boycott Disney. I call it cringe-ny. He calls it cringe-ny. That's good. And Marvel MCU now. Yeah, I have very little interest in anything Marvel anymore, aside from the fact that it's just the genre is kind of tired, but also, too, I know it's not going to be good. Let's see. Rolling Penny says, Lawrence of Arabia from 1961 in Panavision 70. We have watched half. It's a long movie, an intermission with the movie. So, I don't think I've ever watched Lawrence of Arabia. I should. It's apparently just a great classic. Let's see. Streamer says, never forget Twister. Then watch Twister's the new one. Literally had flat saw it before me. I said, let me guess a woman that does everything better than the educated man. Is that what? Of course, they had to update it for the modern audience that doesn't actually exist. All right. We'll skip to the end of the chat again. The chat is so busy tonight. Let's see. Last Action Hero is a good movie. Changed my mind, radio streamer. I'm going to watch it. In fact, I'm going to write it down. Because I actually never saw that one, I don't think. But I've heard, actually, I've heard people, I can't remember who said it was a good movie, but somebody did. Last Action Hero. I'm going to write that down. High Plains Drifter. That's Eastwood, right? From Nevada. It's a good one to check out, too. Let's see. All right. It's a mad, mad, mad world from Nevada. I remember, did I see that one when I was a kid? I probably did. Or am I thinking like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or something? I don't know. Rosie says, still wondering how the woman on the boat avoided having a scar under her chin V. I don't know. It's really about the boat. You have to understand. It's about the boat. All right. Let's get back to the news. We're already an hour in. We've already only done one thing. All right, let's get to it now. So from Woke War Room, according to Harvard's pyramid of white supremacy, you're a covert white supremacist if you support deportations, oppose Colin Kaepernick, or celebrate Columbus Day, or just do anything else, or just born. The Harvard Graduate School of Education pushes this on future teachers, claiming these are day-to-day racist norms. Branding everyday views as white supremacy. Why again are taxpayers funding Harvard's divisive DEI indoctrination? Well, this is the question that Trump has been asking and saying that he doesn't think they should be. And I think he's quite right. The reason that it's so broad is so nobody can disagree with them, right? So they can just say that whatever your comeback is to their lunacy, to their fantasy world, they say, well, that's just what a white supremacist would say. Let's see. Pyramids of white supremacy. So this is Harvard. Harvard. We saw something similar from the Smithsonian. It's everywhere, this stuff happening behind the scenes. Not really so behind the scenes. Pyramid of white supremacy. White supremacy. This image illustrates the historical foundation of day-to-day racist norms that work together to produce extreme or spectacular acts of white supremacy. It shows that individualized white supremacy stems from centuries of structural racism in the U.S. And of course, it's just everything. Everything. I'm looking to see if I wrote anything down for this. Looks like I didn't. Okay. So, let's start at the bottom. Racial capitalism. They're all commies, right? They hate capitalism. That's the foundation of this, of the modern left, is just communism. They're communists. They hate capitalism. That's all that this is at the end of the day. Colonialism. So if you're just born in the United States and you're white, yeah, that's white supremacy. Slavery, Wall Street, of course, because they're communists. Great Recession. All right, so what do we got here? Columbus Day, of course. Columbus Day. Classism. Classism, that's interesting. They kind of, they switched up. It was French communists in the 60s that switched up. They realized that class war was never going to happen because people knew too much about how awful it was to live in Soviet society. So they switched it up to identities, race first. And then now it's just been expanded to just, the infinite variety of abstractions. That's gender theory. It's just anything at this point. They're taking all comers. Anti-Kaepernick. I mean, he's a bit tired now. Nobody even cares about him anymore. But if you're against him, that's building. That's the foundation of the pyramid of white supremacy. Housing discrimination, tokenism, fraudulent lending. Can you have affirmative action and can you have affirmative action and then also say that tokenism is bad? There's no coherence to any of this, by the way. Let's see. Driving while black. Tolerance. Did you hear that? Tolerance. So tolerance is white supremacy. They're just listing off everything. Let's see. Deportations. There you go. So you're in the country illegally. You kill a family for $50, and if you're deported, guess what? That's white supremacy. Gentrification, so wanting to live somewhere nice, white supremacy. White saviors, so if you understand it's a game you can't win, right? So, and it's a rigged game. Like the allies, the white allies, the white leftists, they don't seem to realize they can never win. There's no endpoint for them, right? Like if they don't help, if they're not allies, they're white supremacists. But if they do help, then they're white saviors. And then they're white supremacists as well. It's a totally rigged game. It's pointless being involved, right? I think it's much better just saying I don't know, I don't hate any group, right? I don't blame anybody else for my own failures, right? I don't glory in other people's success. I just worry about myself. I don't, if somebody's cool to me, I'm cool to them, and I don't care what their identity is. I think that's a much better way of living. Let's see. Fetishizing POC, whitewashing in Hollywood. Yeah, that's happening in Hollywood these days. Calling the police on black people. So that's just a statement. Just anytime you do that. You see how this is all just rigged, right? It's all just rigged. No, there is never any appropriate time to do that, apparently, according to this. Otherwise, it's white supremacy. Denying racism, so you just have to believe everything. Let's see. Myth of meritocracy. It's not a myth. That's the thing. Thing about myth of meritocracy is that it's not actually a myth. It's just reality. It's just reality. Take a look at, why do Asian people succeed everywhere they go, regardless of where they're starting out? Asian people can show up off a boat they built themselves from like Thailand or something, and wherever they end up within a generation, they're doing well, right? They believe in meritocracy, right? They believe in conscientiousness. It's not a myth; it's a reality. But of course, though, we do have to recognize that it's also white supremacy, according to Harvard. Harvard. These are the elite institutions. The elite institutions. How can they? At some point, aren't they just going to collapse? I mean, at some point, isn't it going to be a bad thing to get a degree from Harvard for an employer just to say, "Oh yeah, we can't hire them. They're nuts." Stop and frisk, U.S. military rescue what? Rescue operations are racist? Colorblindness. So again, like, I guess that would be, look, not judging somebody by the color of their skin is white supremacy, according to these people. I'm sure we've all heard this before, but still, even going back to it, no matter how many times you go back to it and reread it, you still go, I can't believe this. What? How can this be real? How can this be Harvard? Okay. One thing I thought really interesting. Oh, here we have All Lives Matter, of course. Of course. Illegal aliens. They're just against reality. They're against anything that, like, you go through here, like, they're against anything that would make for a good society. Like, colorblindness makes for a better society. Judging people on the content of their character makes for a better society, right? Having the expectation, people having the expectation, right, that their identity doesn't matter. It's what they do. That makes for better people, because that makes for self-accountable people who don't blame everybody else for their problems. That's going to make for a better high-trust society. So they're against everything that would make a functioning society, apparently. That's what's the real story of this. They hide it in here, right? And then we go up. One thing I thought was very interesting was Anti-Defamation League, ADL. So now they hate the ADL. The ADL's always been on their side. Thought that's very interesting, isn't it? We're going to get to that in a second. Of course, so lynching and burning crosses is directly connected to not judging people by their skin color, according to Harvard. According to Harvard. They say racial slurs and jokes. This is in the genocide section of this. Jokes. They consider jokes to be essentially genocide. All right, let's get back to this. Anti-Defamation League. How are they in there? They used to be like, as thick as thieves, ADL and all this crazy gibberish, right? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at, what do we have at? Glossary of Extremism and Hate from the ADL. ADL has just been a extension of the Democrat Party to demonize anybody who's not far left, essentially. So all of a sudden they now are on this, they are now a part of this pyramid of white supremacy. That's very interesting. This must be a new addition, right? This must be since October 7th, right? Let's see. Glossary of, hold on. Why is it doing that now? Hold on. Okay. Glossary of Extremism and Hate. So, in the news right now, here you go. White supremacy, anti-Semitism, white supremacy, right-wing, anti-Semitism. You never see anything left-wing. You would never see anything left-wing. There's no left-wing extremism. Ever. But I noticed something interesting. Let's see. You've got this, a bunch of stuff that nobody's ever heard of and nobody knows what any of this means. 764 right-wing. But all of a sudden you've got the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Left wing. This is on their map now. Well, that's very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Let's see. Mazar Badil, left wing. Left wing. Isn't that interesting? All of a sudden, they've got a couple. This is not a normal thing for the ADL. It's normally just to smear anybody who's not supportive of the Democrat Party in the United States. All of a sudden, extreme anti-Zionist international organizations. So are they starting to realize that the left actually hates them? I mean, I don't know. There's been all those mobs shouting genocidal chants for a while now. Did it finally kind of clue into them that actually, their own people hate them? Interesting, because that's a new thing. Let's see. What do we got here? Right wing, white supremacist, white supremacist, white supremacist. Everybody's a white supremacist, white supremacist. These guys must be colorblind or something. Let's see. White supremacist, white supremacist, white supremacist. I bet these guys are judging people by the content of their character or something. I don't know. All this stuff. It's just, but all of a sudden, there's a couple of left-wing ones out of the blue. They never have this stuff. Never. So that was kind of interesting. It's interesting to see the left eating itself, is what's interesting. Scathing Harvard report details pervasive anti-Semitism driven by politicized instruction. Is the ADL starting to realize that they've been training their own executioners? Washington Free Beacon. Scathing Harvard report details pervasive anti-Semitism driven by politicized instruction. I am sorry for the moments when we failed to meet the high expectations we rightfully set for our community, says University President Garber. Now, I made a video about zombie Soviet active measures, zombie Soviet propaganda from when, from 1948, when it wasn't clear which way the new state of Israel was going to go. Were they going to go towards the Soviets or towards the United States? They went towards the United States. Soviet Union immediately started pumping out propaganda. And when you look at that propaganda, you can find my video. Just type in Radio Baloney, zombie propaganda, or whatever, Soviet propaganda. And they use just the same phrases, like decades later. Decades later, the leftists are, these people here, you see, they're using just the same phrases. It's just recycled Soviet propaganda. They don't even realize it. But I would say that, yes, I think that this is insane. These places are all insane. But, you could just take whatever their claim about Zionism is, you could just switch it out for white, and it all works exactly the same. It's the exact same thing. So they've been pushing this insane, this lunacy, these pyramids of white supremacy, where every white person is racist. They've been doing this for decades now, right? We really should have, maybe this was the point when they started putting out this stuff. This was the point to say, hold on, something's wrong. It's really kind of irritating that it had to wait for so long for this to happen, right? Like, it should have. Demonizing white people is just as bad as demonizing Jewish people in my mind. Maybe it was back then. I've been making videos about this stuff for years now, and nobody seemed to care. The whole leftist edifice has to be torn down and thrown away. I guess ultimately that's my point. The whole thing is just pure destruction for everybody. Maybe the fact that that they do eat their own, and it's because it's all about interest groups. It's all about creating in-groups and, victim groups and oppressor groups, and they're constantly dividing, that it makes the whole thing unstable. Maybe that's the fatal flaw in it, that they can't ultimately all cooperate because they've all been divided into their own interest groups and all taught that, they are the true victim and everybody else is the oppressor. It's just a zero-sum game. Every interaction for the left between two people is a zero-sum game. So there's a winner and a loser. There's a victim and an oppressor every single time. So they can't even get along with each other. Their own, the individual identity groups within the left. And we're seeing that with the just sudden kind of mask off attitude towards Israel and Zionism, and that everything is 6 degrees of Zionism now. So it's all just this big kind of messy, grotesque, just gross, this gross pile of like the worst ideas that humans have ever had. How about that? Look at this colorblindness. They don't want a world where everybody gets along. That's the only way you get that, right? They judge people by the content of their character is the only way that you get to, a nice world, a nice, high trust world where people get along. Anything else, you're just setting yourself up for trouble. You're setting up a divided society that's going to live on resentment. That's it. It's just, again, you feel like you're in a different, like an alternate universe when you see this stuff. This is Harvard, and this is crazy. Like, this is actually insane. And if you wanted to if you wanted to come up with design a way to literally destroy your own civilization into a bunch of competing interest groups and where nothing can get accomplished, this is what you do. You couldn't do any better than this. If you wanted to wreck your civilization, if you want to burn it to the ground, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't do any better than this. Total and utter lunacy. All right. I will say it is amusing to see the left eat itself, though. All right. So let's get that. I don't think I was quite as articulate on that as I wanted to be. I probably should have made some notes. But anyway, what's done is done. My point is, it's all fucking crazy. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Let's get to a different... what else have we got? How about Fence Girl? We love Fence Girl. She's great. She loves fences. Let's see. Nevada says, Dr. Strangelove. I watched that decades ago. I should probably rewatch it. I liked it when I watched it. Ottawa James, sorry I'm late. It's never too late, Ottawa James. Good to see you. Let's see. Ottawa James says, lefties are so judgy, bro. Well, there's a purpose to it, right? It's to police everybody all the time. They police each other more than they police anyone. I think they like, denouncing and struggle sessioning their own more than anybody else. It's why they all are total conformists. They're all in total conformity with just whatever the latest far left gibberish that comes out. They all jump on it. They all conform immediately because they know that everybody else is watching them. When you're a woke leftist, when you're a progressive, you don't have friends. You have future denouncers. You have commissars. Let's see. Turtles, how you doing? Good to see ya. Pyramid versus Venn diagram equals commie chaos. Great point. Ottawa James. So in Canada, the lefties vote for a banker. Go figure. That's a great point. That's an excellent point. It was really a TV set election. And a bunch of NDP crossed over to the Liberals just to stop a conservative from winning, because they just know the word conservative is the worst word in the world. They don't know anything about it. They don't know anything about the election. They don't know really why they're voting other than TV said that Pierre's mean. TikTok said that Pierre's mean. That's pretty much it. Let's see. Turtle says, America. America. Let's see. Nevada says he needs some energy. Well, I don't know what kind of energy. I'm feeling a little low on energy myself, actually. I need some energy. I mean, I've already had like a couple of cups of coffee. I did some rails. I did some crystal meth. I ate an entire human adrenaline gland. Nothing. I mean, where can I get that kind of energy? The kind of energy I need. I don't know. I don't know if they even make that kind of energy.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
And teapot. Yeah, God, I love it. Now I'm feeling it. That wakes me up every time. You know what else wakes me up, though? Hold on a second. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. That's exclusive. I'm guessing no commies are going to get it. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check. The smooth medium roast and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free, and also communism free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip. Ooh, those are nice because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. Damn straight. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. You gotta love it. Or commies, by the way. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for only, can this be real? Only $99? My God. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com. That's 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Don't forget that code studio. You're going to need that. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something. Capitalism, maybe. Just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. And don't get that dirty, filthy commie coffee. What are you thinking? There we go. Nevada says, no caffeine in root beer. What? I'm never having it again. Let's see. Rosie says, great coffee ad read, Richie. Commie hate, growls, political opinions, 1774 out of 10. That's about the most you can get. Would be higher if energy was not wasted. Before the ad. I think the highest it goes is 1777. Richie, 10 out of 10 ad from Nevada. That's a beautiful score. Ottawa James, nice radio voice, bro. That's my real voice. Let's see. Rosie says, I and family went to MHJ and family went to old local theater to see Treasure of Sierra Madre on big screen. That's Bogey, right? That's Bogey. I watched that movie, and that's a great movie. Love it. That would have been fun. All right. Rosie says, good rant, 10 out of 10. Too bad you're a white supremacist. I know, but apparently the left keeps telling me there's nothing you can do. All right. Let's get to the next thing. What are we here? An hour and a half in. We've barely done any of the news. We spent a lot of time. on the chat, which is good because it makes it more fun. Mark Nixon wrote this, elbows up. All of you got played like fools. 2 weeks before the election, the tariffs were removed, except for essential items like food. Now grocery prices are going up. So when Mark Carney said elbows up, what he really meant was grocery prices up. The real slogan was asses up, I believe. So it turns out that Mark Carney had been planning, despite all of his tough talk about how he was going to stand up to Donald Trump and dollar for dollar tariffs, which was always idiotic, by the way. We have an economy less than a tenth the size of the United States. Always idiotic anyway. So it's actually good that we're not doing all of the retaliatory tariffs. It's just that a lot of people got played. They thought that's what they wanted. He said he was going to do that. Not so much. Not so much. And of course, he's keeping the retaliatory tariffs on things like food, which, I mean, I don't know. That's the kind of thing that there's like 1 million people or more than 1 million people lining up at food banks every month in Canada. So maybe food was one where maybe you didn't want to punish Canadians with that either. So, but don't expect the Liberals to be competent. Mark Nixon, Mark Carney promised tariffs that would hurt the U.S., not Canadians. Instead, we're paying 25% more on essentials like food, coffee, clothing, and cosmetics. Retailers like Loblaw are raising prices on thousands of items. Experts estimate this could cost the average Canadian household $1,600 to $2,000 annually. We're getting crushed by our own government's strategy. Let's see. So, but there is that 1% middle class tax cut, which averages out to $800 a year. So, if that ever even actually happens, I mean, it's not even going to keep up with inflation because of all of the deficit spending we're going to be doing. But whatever. Elbows up, everybody. Elbows up. I don't know. It just this was the competence that we were promised by the guy with all the credentials. So Canada has effectively suspended almost all of its retaliatory products on tariffs on U.S. products, except for food. Except for food. Oh dear. Well, there's food and there's a few other things as well. But what did Carney say?
The Canadian government has rightly retaliated and is rightly retaliating with our own tariffs that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impact here in Canada. And my government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect.
So that was all bullshit, and the idiots fell for it. And now what do we have? What do we have? We have the Trudeau government again, only on overdrive. Now, dropping most of the tariffs is good. He should have dropped it on food, too. I don't understand why he thought it was a good idea to keep them on that. That doesn't make any sense. It's not going to hurt the United States. It's just going to hurt Canadians. But, you know, that is at least generally the right thing to do. And by the way, that, you know, these tariffs on food, the increase in price on food is going to hurt the poor and working class the most, by the way. It's not going to hurt the, Brantford boomer with his finger up. But what else have we got? There's no trade deal in sight. So Trump is making deals with the UK. He made a trade deal with China, for God's sakes. China. Nothing for Canada. While Trump's signing deals with other countries. Great. Okay. There he is, the great negotiator. It's just a lot of nothing. I guess Carney's, much, heralded, much celebrated credentials haven't kicked in yet. Maybe they'll kick in at some point. Who knows? So no trade progress, no budget, by the way. Apparently we're not getting a budget this year, so nobody knows what he's spending all the money on. Now, he's supposed to be this super competent banker and economist who knows how the world works and blah, 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 blah. Why wouldn't they give us a budget? Like, why wouldn't they tell the public what they're spending the money on? I mean, he's promising to massively drive up the debt, massively drive up spending. But no budget. No budget. So the super competent, button-down, moderate Mark Carney, which he's none of those things, not even offering us a budget. That doesn't seem like it was. So he was supposed to be, the guy who's going to professionally run the government, efficiently run it. It's not looking like that. It's looking like an extension of the Trudeau years, which should not be surprising given that Mark Carney was advising Justin Trudeau on the economy since at least 2020. We know that for a fact. There were articles at the time, which I've shown you, announcing it. To great aplomb, by the way. So what do we got? We got no trade deal. Other countries are getting them. We're not getting one. No budget. So we don't even know where the money's going, what he's wasting Canadians' money on. Carney's new/old cabinet is just saying the same things that they did under Trudeau. I mean, there is literally no difference. In short, we're still waiting to see all of that competence that the CBC promised us with Mark Carney. I warned everybody. I warned as many people as I could. Not that many people saw my videos. I tried. But we're waiting to see all that competence that the CBC promised. And don't hold your breath, by the way. It just, what's the takeaway from this? It's just the gullibility of the liberal voter. Not that they'll ever admit that they got conned. They never will, of course. Let's keep going here. All right, let's get to the next one. We're going to do a little bit of Canadian politics here, and then we're going to move on fairly quickly. So, again, from Mark Nixon, plan beats no plan. Carney campaigned on it, said he had one. Now we find out no budget, no numbers, no direction. And just the same cabinet, essentially, all saying the exact same things. I guarantee the Conservatives had one ready to go. Instead, Canada just got train wrecked. This is catastrophic. Elbows up got lied to. Elbows up should have been asses up all along.
I've learned a few things from long experience in crises. And the first is that plan beats no plan.
So no budget. So there is no plan. Like, just think about that for a second. We haven't had a functioning government since November. That's how long Parliament's been out. All right, so we've not had a functioning government. And now the super competent central banker technocrat, his government is telling us that there's not even going to be a budget this year. So the people won't even know what the money's being spent on. We won't know the actual plan. I mean, that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Like, where is the money going? Obviously, nowhere good. Obviously, there's a problem with where it's going. People might ask questions. People might say, hold on a second. Are you sure we should just be subsidizing a bunch of unprofitable companies that are connected to Mark Carney because they're green? Maybe questions like that. I don't know. I can tell you there's a reason they're not releasing a budget. It's not like Mark Carney can't figure that out. He doesn't have people around him that can do it. It's not like he'd have to sit down and do the whole thing himself. Obviously, he's got people around him who should be able to help with this stuff. There's a reason they're not releasing a budget. Because people won't like it. That's why. The people that elected Mark Carney won't like it, or at least some of them won't. At this point, I'm actually, thinking that Canada is so much of a TV said country that he could release it. It could be the budget could just be to borrow $200 billion and then just send it to an island and drop an atomic bomb on it. And CBC will spin it, and Global and CTV will spin it in a way that that will that where Carney will be like, his approval will go up, where Carney's approval will go up. That's kind of how little faith I have in the Canadians. That outside of that, 42% about that made the right decision, that weren't fooled, that weren't tricked by elbows up. Hold on. This is the one I want to get to. So the Carney cabinet. So these are the people who are going to set us on this brave new path. Carney's cabinet. So let's see. Canada's new housing minister, Gregor Robertson, said the quiet part out loud. We have to protect market housing. We don't want prices to go down. Uh-oh, that's not good. See, Carney didn't say anything about that, about housing staying just as expensive and unaffordable.
We've got to create some incentives and opportunities for people to get into the market. We got to make sure that people's assets are obviously protected, and that's the market housing. But we've got to create some.
So that's for the boomers who voted for the Liberal boomers. There's lots of amazing boomers in Canada, right? It's not all boomers, but it's just a majority of the voting boomers voted for Mark Carney, and that's for them to protect their equity. They've already got their houses, right? They've already got their houses paid off. The house they bought, 40 years ago for $100,000, that's already paid off. That's to protect their equity. More young people voted for Mark Carney than Pierre Poilievre, and they screwed themselves badly because they don't care about them. Your housing problems, not going to be solved. Not while Mark Carney is prime minister. Don't worry, you're not going to be able to afford a home. Nice move. Translation, your kids will never own a home because inflated prices are policy. Welcome to Canada. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe this is what there were enough Canadians to want this. More of Trudeau. More of the Trudeau Liberals, because that's what we're getting just on overdrive. Let's see, who else have we got? Here's Stephen Guilbeault. He's still hanging around. He's the guy who was an eco-criminal who's arrested. Famous photo of him being arrested for his eco activities. What's he saying here? Is he talking about pipelines? Now, Mark Carney said in French, no pipelines. In English, he said, yeah, pipelines. But I think we know where it's going. I mean, he used to be the government of, Stephen Guilbeault used to be the Minister of Environment and Global Warming because it's Canada. And now is the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Well, I don't know. Weren't they telling us that we don't have any identity, any core identity? Maybe our core identity is just we're insane. Maybe our core identity is that we like being poor. Maybe our core identity is we want to destroy our civilization. Maybe that's it. Let's take a look.
Premier Smith says that she's still concerned that you're part of cabinet and also the new selection of Mr. Buzyn for the environment minister. She says it's too close of a tie to you. What do you say in response to that?
I think we will have to agree to disagree with Premier Smith. We think that protecting the environment, fighting climate change is important. Lots of Canadians believe that as well. It was a central element of our platform, and we will make good on our commitments.
The Prime Minister last night on TV seemed to open the door to potentially changing the emissions cap or the IAA to get projects built. What do you think of what he said?
Well, these are important conversations that we will need to have in the coming weeks.
Premier Smith is saying that you're anti-pipeline still. What do you say in response to her concerns just broadly about the cabinet? And how do you deal with national unity? How do you address that right now?
So on pipelines, people should remember that we bought a pipeline, Trans Mountain, and that is only used right now about 40% capacity. So I think before we start.
So that's a lie. It's actually 80% capacity. And they says they bought a pipeline. They had to buy a pipeline because it was going to be privately funded. And then the people that were going to build the pipeline walked away because of all of the problems and the hurdles that the Trudeau government put in front of them. They said it's not worth it. Then the government, in shame, had to actually buy and build the pipeline at way, way over budget, like billions over budget because of that. So I guess our identity is going to continue to be we're just incompetent and dysfunctional. I guess that's the Canadian identity now. Oh, also, we hate ourselves. And let's see, Canada's perpetual genocide state. I forgot about that. So he's in the cabinet too. So not looking good so far. So this is Sean Fraser. So he was the Minister of Immigration under our mass immigration that at the real root of all of Canada's problems was the mass influx of millions of people that the country, the economy could just not absorb. The reckless, insane rush to jam as many people into the country as possible. So he was Minister of Immigration under that. He was also Minister of Housing while housing prices doubled in the country and have just become totally unaffordable for young people. So now he's the Minister of Justice. So let's see. Canada is violent crime. Every kind of crime is going through the roof, and that will now continue because we've got the same guy who ruined housing and who ruined immigration. So, yeah, I guess fresh start, right?
When you decided not to run again, you said it was because you wanted to spend more time with your family, and you said when you were coming back again that you worked out a deal with Mr. Carney that you'd be able to, have a little bit more work-life balance. How does that jive with your new role?
Well, I expect what you're going to see is when the House of Commons is not sitting, given the nature of the portfolio, a lot of the stakeholders we have are less interested in having you attend groundbreakings, the openings of new buildings that you may have funded, and are quite accustomed to having meetings virtually. So I anticipate during constituency weeks, I'm going to be based in my hometown a little more than I was before. There may be an opportunity, depending on what's going on in the House, to avail myself, not all the time, of course, but once in a while, of the virtual abilities to participate in the House of Commons proceedings. So we're going to figure some of this out as we go. I'm very proud to have the support of my family to come.
So, I mean, okay, so the Minister of Justice is going to be working from home most of the time. Thing is, he was supposed to get out of politics because he said when the polls were really low for the Liberals, because he said he wanted to spend more time with his family. And then when all of a sudden it looked like the CBC and the rest of the corporate media in Canada, and just the fact that there were a lot of Liberal voters who just wanted any excuse to vote Liberal. Once Trudeau was gone, they had it. Then all of a sudden he decides to get back in again. Now he's Minister of Justice, and he's going to work from home a bunch of the time. This might actually be a good thing. The less he's actually working, the better. We can see from his record, right? Immigration, housing, the less he's working, the less damage he can do. So I guess that's maybe a blessing, actually. But again, cabinet still not looking great. Still not looking really any different from Trudeau, really. Here's Dominic LeBlanc. Let's see.
Dans mes conversations avec les premiers ministres, et M. Carney dans la campagne électorale a été très clair, un corridor énergétique, ça peut amener des lignes de transmission d'électricité, ça peut amener le gaz naturel, ça peut amener à la limite des wagons de minéraux critiques. C'est pas uniquement des pipelines. Les gens ont tendance à réduire ça à une pipeline de pétrole.
Ouais.
Un corridor, on parle pas de pipeline de pétrole quand on parle.
Oh, so definitely not talking about oil pipelines going east, energy corridors. Isn't that exactly what all of us who weren't fooled, who bothered to learn anything about Mark Carney, were saying all along? The people who bothered to learn anything about Mark Carney, to actually listen to all of the things he'd said, who maybe took a look at his book like I did. That's what we were saying all along. This should come as no surprise. Mark Carney said he'd approve energy corridors. He didn't mean pipelines. He meant power lines, electricity, minerals, maybe gas. But no pipelines, not even on the table. Liberals are full steam ahead on killing what's left of this country. They're not living in reality. Everything Canada now is just Mark Carney's net zero playground. It's just a tool to push what was his collapsing net zero global banking alliance, his Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. Before he ran for Prime Minister. 4 Canadian banks dropped out of it. It was collapsing. Now he's got his second chance at Canadians' expense. Let's see. Who else have we got here? So anyway, it's a clown car so far. Who else have we got? Environment Minister Julie Debreson thinks your pickup is a planetary threat, your furnace is a crime scene, and your job in the energy sector is a moral stain. The new Environment Minister is just as radical as the one before, maybe even worse, and that's saying something. This is Carney sending a message to Alberta that nothing is changing, and it might even get worse. Geez, there were a lot of us saying this all along. Let's see. Julie Debreson isn't some moderate trying to bring balance to Ottawa. She's a dyed-in-the-wool downtown Toronto ideologue. So this is from Rebel News. Maybe we'll watch a couple of minutes of this. Hold on.
Mark Carney just flipped off Alberta again. The new environment minister that he just put into cabinet, well, she's just as radical as the environment minister before her, maybe even worse. And I think that's really saying something.
That is Stephen Guilbeault. That is our old environment minister, our minister for the environment and global warming. Because it's Canada.
Even worse. And I think that's really saying something. This is Mark Carney, though, saying something to Alberta that nothing is changing and it might even get worse. Julie Debreson isn't some moderate trying to bring balance back to Ottawa. She's a dyed-in-the-wool downtown Toronto elite ideologue, one of those I bike to work so you don't have to ladies, literally. She once bragged about cycling to work alongside Chrystia Freeland while conveniently ignoring the fact that Freeland still uses a taxpayer-funded car and driver. These people want you to ditch your vehicle while they get motorcades to climate summits. Debreson thinks your pickup is a planetary threat. Your furnace, well, that's a crime scene. And your job in the energy sector, that's a moral stain. She once tweeted, and I quote, "It is no longer free to pollute anywhere across our country." What she meant was, if you live in rural Canada, drive a truck, or work in oil and gas, you're the problem, and they're going to make you pay for it. She celebrated when the tech frontier mine was killed. That was a multi-billion-dollar project, thousands of jobs in Alberta just gone. She said the environmental impact cannot be mitigated. Translation, Alberta's economy is non-negotiable. If you're still wondering.
So, okay, that's not good. Mark Carney, by the way, also is on the record saying that carbon emissions are going to have to factor in every single transaction any person makes. Everything anybody does, they're going to have to factor carbon into it. Which sounds a lot like some sort of commie central planning, doesn't it? Sure does to me. So there's another loser. So if there was ever any doubts, and there never was for me, but if anybody had any doubt that the Carney government was going to just be the Justin Trudeau government on steroids, well, that's they have been disavowed of that notion at this point. It's going to be exactly the same, especially when you consider that Mark Carney was the man behind the curtain since at least 2015. When the debt was doubled, Mark Carney was the man behind the curtain. Mark Carney told Trudeau to freeze the bank accounts of peaceful protesters, to crack down on the peaceful protesters in Ottawa. All of the bad decisions, especially anything to do with the economy, that was on Mark Carney's advice. Now Mark Carney's got his own hands on the rein. It's just gonna get worse. It's just going to get worse. Hopefully, at some point, every Canadian will see Mark Carney as the globalist technocrat goblin that I do. Sorry, technocrat, globalist technocrat, eco-lunatic goblin that I do. Sorry, globalist, eco-fanatic, WEF technocrat goblin that I do. There we go. All right. We got a little bit more. We got one more tab for Canadian stuff, and then we're going to get on to RFK Jr. and Tulsi and Elon and a whole bunch of other stuff. And there's some Trump stuff I want to go over as well. But you know what? I think we're almost 2 hours in. I need to take a break for a couple of minutes. So I will put on something instructional, like a fence video, a fence enthusiast video, and I'm going to go take a little break. Can I make this a little bit bigger? There. I'm a huge fan of fences, personally. All right. So give me like 1 or 2 minutes, you guys. I'll be right back. All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. This is a good time to suggest, if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe right now. It's really good. Also, liking the stream, big deal. Big deal. It's very fashionable these days. You don't want to get left behind. Also, you get that good karma. So, I don't know, in these troubled times, I wouldn't turn my back on that good karma if I were you. All right. Before we get back into this again, and we're going to take a look at the chat too. But first, keep your eye out. I'm going to do a video. It'll be a separate video, or maybe I will do a premium only stream. I've still got to do 5 hours of that this month. for the creator program on Rumble. But it might be a premium only video, but it's going to be on the literally insane EV. That's actually ZEV, zero emission vehicle mandates starting in 2026 in Canada. I think most Canadians really don't understand what a dystopian mess this country has become, how much of a cautionary tale to the world Canada has become. I think most Canadians didn't understand that we had in Canada amongst the most draconian, if not the most draconian, COVID policies in the world. I don't think a lot of people understand, like these EV mandates are going to be amongst the most insanely, central planning, commie bullshit in the world. These are going to be amongst the most extreme policies in the world. There is so much of Canada, like there are no limits on abortion in Canada, none, right up until birth. There are no limits. There's only a handful of countries around the world. Europe is about, I think, uniformly about 12 weeks. Canada, nothing. Like, Canada has extreme policies. Canada is way ahead in the race to, central planning, commie dysfunction, woke dysfunction, than most countries. Countries that you'd think are really woke. Like Sweden. Sweden is nowhere near as woke as Canada is. Sweden walked back their sex changes for children policies going back a couple of years now. So did the UK. They said, oh, actually, these are just medical experiments and we're going to stop doing it. Canada, it's the law of the land. It's actually illegal in Canada to give responsible medical care or psychological care to a confused child in Canada. To suggest that there may be anything going on other than the fact, yep, you're just born in the wrong body. It's actually illegal. You can lose your license to practice in Canada if you say, hold on a second, maybe there's something else involved. That's how insane Canada is. That's how extreme Canada is. Most Canadians have no idea that they're living in an abnormal culture and that other people around the world look at us in kind of shock, really. Like, really? They put up with that? These censorship laws that Mark Carney is going to resurrect. Bill C-63, Trudeau's law, which ended when Trudeau prorogued Parliament, which meant all legislation is just ended. You have to go back, start again from scratch. Carney's promising to resurrect that. It's got pre-crime. Will we be the first country in the world that will punish its citizens for crimes that they haven't committed, for future crimes that haven't happened? Like in a Philip K. Dick novel. Most Canadians don't realize we are living in an abnormal society. This is not normal. It's extreme. I say less woke, more fences. That's what I say. All right. Let's get to the chat for a minute and we'll move on. I think it's going to be a long one tonight, you guys, and that's all right. Ottawa James says, I hate my government. I am appalled by my government. And I have very little hope that they're going to change that feeling. It is appalling. Let's see. Oh boy, the chat is busy tonight. Let's see. Nevada's saying we have a high winds advisory again this weekend. Ugh. Well, they can be not super fun. All right. Spambot's internet glitched. Oh, we haven't had the glitch on the stream yet, though. That should be coming up sometime in the next 20 minutes. Everybody hang around when it glitches. It only takes a second to fix it. Let's see. Turtle says America is still in chaos, rogue commie judges. Well, that's the problem. And I believe I saw something that early today, the Supreme Court has ruled that all of just these judges, these federal judges everywhere, can literally just behave as if they're the president, which is what's happening. And it's hamstringing Trump in terms they're trying to make it impossible for him to deliver on his campaign promises, especially when it comes to immigration, which is awful. I don't know what he's going to do, but I guess that story will develop. Ottawa James says, a lot of lies, Radio B, out by MSM. That's what they do. They're not here to inform. They're here to indoctrinate and manipulate. Let's see. Turtle says, no effing Sharia law. I mean, it really just goes without saying for any sane person, doesn't it? Let's see. Ottawa James says, propaganda minister Guy Bott. I mean, he's the guy in charge of the Minister of Canadian Identity, as if we even need that. Like, it's so stupid. Yeah, he's awful. He's not going to do anything good. I mean, according to the Trudeau government, Canada's identity is just infinite genocide state. Turtle says, energy, drill, baby, drill. Not in Canada, unfortunately. Dame Pam says, Quebec just announced it will allow a pipeline to pass through. Really? I didn't see that. I did not see that. That's something we'll have to look into. Rosie says, what is a minister of identity and culture? What does that even mean? It's just propaganda, right? It's to tell us that our identity is that we are like a climate change country, right? We're a net zero country. That's all it is. You'll just be pushing that. And also everybody's racist and blah, blah, blah. All the stuff they use to try and make people afraid to say anything even remotely, even totally reasonable things about stuff like immigration. Right, it's his job to say that anybody with any reasonable concern about immigration is in fact a racist, and that's the only explanation for why they would complain about why they can't afford their rent or why they had to wait 80 hours at the emergency room. Ottawa James says, loser cabinet. It's just all the same people. And look, even the new faces, I mean, the Liberal Party was remade in Justin Trudeau's image. It's no longer a liberal party. It's no longer a centrist, left-leaning party. It's now a radical progressive party. It's a radical leftist party now. To be in it, you must be a radical leftist. That's why Mark Carney's leading it, because he is a radical, right? Regardless of whatever CBC says, Mark Carney has said a lot of things on camera. He has also written a book. And everything and all of that tells us, without a doubt, Mark Carney is a radical. Dan Pam says, if Quebec likely only just accepted a pipeline to pass through because the West, who funds them, is talking separation. I haven't seen anything about that. Who was that from? Let's see. Rosie says, I'm sad for the smart Canadians. Well, I will tell you one thing. And let's be honest, when Carney passes the censorship bill, I've got to do some hard thinking. I mean, can I even do what I do? I mean, the bill, I've done a video on it. You guys can check it out. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. Look up the bill C-63. I did a whole video on it. I went through the bill itself, so it's not just my opinion. I went through what's actually written in the bill, and it's just bonkers. I mean, the purpose is to intimidate anybody who might voice any reasonable concern, to intimidate them out of not voicing their concerns for fear of being financially ruined or being, put under house arrest for a year because you might do a hate online, some activist judge thinks. When that bill goes through, I've got some thinking to do. I mean, how can I continue to do what I'm doing? It's that bad. It's that dystopian, and that's not something I ever could have imagined. If you'd told me 20 years ago that Canada could become a country where it would be dangerous to speak your mind, not hate speech, not encouraging violence, just stating reasonable concerns. I never would have believed, Joseph. This is Canada, but I guess while we're all sleeping, the lunatics were taking over. Izzy says Alberta needs to become 51st state. It might. It could happen. Nevada says Saskatchewan can be 52, then we will have a full deck. The smart thing to do would be for British Columbia. It would be much harder with British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan to just separate as one piece and then figure out what we're going to do from there. That would make the most sense because then you'd still have, the free access to the coast with the Trans Mountain Pipeline and any other ones we wanted to build. Again, BC would be tougher on that. Although BC did go just a little bit, but did go conservative in this election. So who knows? But again, I mean, that would be a long way off. It is possible, though. Spambot says U.S. territory is possible. Yep. I think that is actually much more likely, to be honest, because becoming new states would be complicated and very complicated. Something more like a territory would be more likely if it were to happen. At Dame Pam, the libs have been brainwashed to not use their critical thinking skills. They do whatever they're told. Well, the difference between the left and basically the right, but conservatives, really it's just the not crazy, right? So it's the left and then the not crazy. So the difference is that the not crazy knows everything that the libs think or the left thinks. Again, they're not really liberals. What we're talking about is radical leftists. But because the culture is so steeped now in leftism that all the not crazy people know what they think because you can't get away from it, right? But then they also are finding other sources of news and other opinion. So they have a much more kind of global view of what's happening. Whereas the left has no idea what the not crazy think. They're in a complete bubble. They don't need anything else. I mean, the culture is totally catering to their beliefs, to their bubble. So they have no idea. I was just watching, in fact, I've got a clip coming up where it's Tim Pool talking to some lefty comedian. And he's another one of these leftists in the States who had no idea that Donald Trump did not praise white supremacists and Nazis, right? Never seen the full clip. There's so many of them. Like they still don't know. They still believe the propaganda. It's because it's so easy for them to remain in their bubble because culturally leftism is dominant. Certainly corporate media, it's totally dominant, right? So they can just go for years. They can go for, 9 years and just believe a total and utter lie. And they're never disabused of it because they just never come into it. And the people around them are the same. And, well, you don't want to disagree on anything because you might get denounced by your own friends. So, again, the left loves to police nobody more than they love to police their own. They love to put their own through the struggle sessions more than anybody else. It's total discipline. So, yes, they do whatever they're told. It's TV set. This last election was a TV set election. Radio Streamer says, anyway, commies got a commie is all I can say about this crap. Commies are gonna commie. Radio Streamer says, more commie hate. More commie hate. Well, I'll work on it. Radio Streamer, well, that's a great suggestion. Hold on a second. Hold on one second.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Some fucking commie gobbledygook. Yep. Let's see. Lousy, no good, stinking commies. Nevada says. All right, I'm going to skip to the end now. Let's see. Dame Pam says, the left in Canada are still relying upon mainstream media used to control them. Yep. They just know what comes off the teleprompters on the CBC. That's what they know. They don't get exposed to anything else. All right. So let's get on to the next thing. Is my energy going to stay up for this whole thing? What's going on? So what's going on here? So let's see. The world's best crisis negotiator, Mark Carney. Let's see how he's coming along with this tariff crisis. This is from Table Salt. So this is Peter Hoekstra, U.S. envoy to Canada, and he's saying the tariffs may never be removed. I mean, that's not something to laugh at. That's not good. But I'm just laughing that people actually thought Mark Carney was telling the truth, or that they had any faith that he was this great crisis negotiator, great negotiator who's going to bend Trump to his will. Pathetic.
The benchmark or the criteria would be to have those tariffs removed?
I'm not sure they'll be totally removed. I mean, we saw this week, we saw that another country that believes they have a special relationship with the United States, the UK and Canada, or UK and America, we announced a trade agreement this week. In some ways, it's kind of a framework, an example of where we will be moving in the future. But we got that done in a little over 100 days with the UK. Now that there's a government in Canada, hopefully we will get to an agreement relatively quickly. But, there's some tough issues to negotiate and to talk about. But I think both leaders want to get this behind us and, again, focus on creating a framework that will build and bring prosperity to both countries. And we're not exactly sure what the final agreement may look like.
So should we interpret that as the tariffs are potentially connected to a new trade agreement more than necessarily, for example, the fentanyl crossing the border?
Oh, yeah, I think it's the president has made very, very clear. The USMCA, as we call it, was successful for the last 4 or 5 years. It was designed to be transitional, also transitional, recognizing that, the economy, technologies, lots of things change. We learn about what's working and what's not.
Do you know what I would really like to see is just a total economic partnership and integration with the States. Just no tariffs either way. Americans can work in Canada, Canadians can work in America. I think that would create an even greater economic superpower, that kind of integration between the two countries. That's what makes the most sense to me. It won't happen, of course, certainly not under a Carney government, because Carney's obsessed with putting carbon taxes and on literally everything, right? So that's not going to work. But that's what would actually be good for Canada. That would really unleash the Canadian economy massively. Will we ever get something like that? Probably not. All right. What did we have? Okay, I want to show a couple of things from Pierre Poilievre, then we're moving on. Pierre Poilievre, so from Mark Nixon, Pierre Poilievre says the last 48 hours, feel just like the last 10 years. So we've been through. So when you take a look at Mark Carney's cabinet, there's no reason not to think that. The fact that, there's been no progress on any kind of trade deal, dealing with the tariffs with Trump, nothing whatsoever. There's no budget. We've learned we're not getting a budget this year. It kind of feels like just as incompetent as the Trudeau government. And that shouldn't be surprising considering it's all the same faces except for Carney, who had been the man behind the curtain for Trudeau since 2020 anyway. Let's take a look.
Mr. Poilievre, Stephen Guilbeault, is Stephen Guilbeault a threat to national unity in his current role as Minister of National Identity and Quebec Lieutenant?
Yes, he is. Absolutely. I mean, I just find it astonishing that Mr. Carney would appoint a man who says we don't need any pipelines built. The Liberals went around the country pretending they had changed their minds about pipelines after 10 years of blocking them. But now one of Mr. Carney's top ministers comes out and says we don't need any more pipelines, and that he would work to block those pipelines. He wants to block road construction. He's against nuclear power. He's against all forms of economic development. And that will be bad for the entire country, to be clear, but especially antagonistic to the resource-producing provinces like Saskatchewan and Alberta, who rightly feel that they have been mistreated by this lost Liberal decade. So what we see, we have Mr. Guilbeault, who wants to block resource development. We have Sean Fraser, who created the immigration crisis and then the housing crisis. A new housing minister yesterday who says he doesn't want housing costs to go down. Presumably he wants them to go up like they did when he nearly tripled them as mayor of Vancouver. So what we're seeing is that in the last 48 hours of this Liberal government is looking a lot like the last 10 years of the Liberal government. What we need is a real change, a change so that we can bring home the country that we knew and loved, so that anyone who works hard gets a powerful paycheck. They can live in a nice, affordable home on a.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. And, no pipelines, no resource development. This should not come as a surprise to anybody. It certainly doesn't come as a surprise to me or to anybody who had just looked at anything Mark Carney had said or written for like the last decade, right? No surprise. It's obvious. It was obvious that he was talking out. It was obvious that Mark Carney was lying when he was talking about pipelines. We already knew because in French he would say no pipelines, and in English he says, well, yeah, pipelines, but he was never really very specific about everything. All we had was everything he'd ever said or written on the subject to tell us that, no, he's not going to do that. So for Pierre Poilievre, I mean, I'm glad he stayed on as leader, but it must feel like Groundhog Day for him. Because I tell you what, it feels like Groundhog Day for a lot of us, for most of us, for conservatives. Just the same thing over. We're right back to it again, the same thing. We went through an election, through a media propaganda campaign, just to end up in exactly the same place. Same woke, incompetent government with an older, more gremlin-like, just as dishonest and compromised version of Trudeau. Trudeau on steroids. It's Groundhog's Day. It's Groundhog Day. It must feel like that for Pierre. He must stand up there and be like, am I in that movie? Like, how is this possible? It must be hard for him to just get back out there again, pointing out just the same obvious stuff over and over again. And again, with no guarantee that Lib voters will ever learn anything. Just no guarantee that leftist voters in Canada will ever reach that line where they say, I can't keep doing insane things anymore. I can't keep believing insanity anymore. I have to allow reality. I have to allow reality to assert itself, and I have to listen. It's got to be very disheartening. It's disheartening just for me. It must be very tough for Pierre. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's just the same clip. From Pierre Poilievre. In 2 days, Mark Carney appoints a housing minister who nearly tripled housing costs as Vancouver mayor. Mark Carney announces he will not introduce any budget this year, which is total insanity. There's only one reason why the... Well, there's the glitch. There's only one reason to not introduce a budget, because you don't want people to see what's in it, because they won't like it. Mark Carney's Minister Guilbeault says no to any new pipelines. The last 2 days look a lot like the last 10 years, just waking up to the same thing every day. Every day. It's really, really sad. Okay, so this one's from a few days ago, but I think it's good. So, as we know, Mark Carney stole a couple of Pierre Poilievre's ideas. Firstly, getting rid of the consumer carbon tax. It was, he was running on X the tax. Now, Pierre Poilievre was going to X that tax as well as the industrial carbon taxes. Mark Carney is going to make up for the, front end consumer carbon tax that you pay at the pump. He's going to make up for that at the back end with the actual production of the energy with carbon taxes. So this is not going to end up being a net gain for Canadians, but he stole it, and Canadians who don't pay attention just thought, oh, well, that's good, I guess, even if they were deadly against it previously, because, I don't know, the planet was going to burn or something if Pierre Poilievre got it. And when Carney was doing it, well, actually, I could use the extra money. That won't last long, by the way. Also, cutting down trade barriers between provinces. Poilievre idea as well. So that leads us into this. This was posted by CPAC. So that leads us into this clip. Let's take a look.
We want to see dramatic changes, not soft reassurances. We also have an offer to make the Liberals. My message to Mr. Carney: steal my ideas. We've got great ideas. And we've been leading the charge on the debate over carbon taxes, inflation, housing prices, crime, drugs, resource development. And I note the Liberals even lifted a few of those ideas and put them in their platform to get reelected. We want to make sure that they were sincere about that. And we're going to continue to put forward solid ideas to make people's lives better every day. Because our purpose is to bring home the promise of Canada, that everyone who works hard gets a great life, that anyone from anywhere can do anything, where you get a nice, affordable home on a safe street. Every day and in every way, we will fight for our people and our country to put people back in charge of their lives with bigger paychecks, abundant, affordable energy, home ownership, low taxes, safe streets, and a strong military in the country that we know and love, Canada.
Leftists hate him in Canada. Just think about it for a second. They hate him. They despise him. They think he has evil eyes, apparently. Just think about that. Think about how brainwashed you have to be, how indoctrinated you have to be to hate Pierre Poilievre, to just hate this guy. Like, you have to just be an idiot at this point. He's clearly not a bad human being, right? You may not like his policies, you may disagree, but he's clearly not a bad person. This is the thing you have to understand, that conservatives in Canada have to understand. Leftists hate him. They despise him, right? If Carney steals one of his policy ideas, right, they will go from hating that idea to loving that idea. So it actually has nothing to do with Pierre Poilievre as a person. It's just conditioning. It's just that little drip, drip, drip comes out of Rosemary Barton's teleprompter every night. He's mean. Just the little insinuations, the way everything's framed. They just always frame him in a negative light. That's why they hate him, even though there is no reason to hate him. He's just not a hateable person. He hasn't done anything to be hated over. He's just common sense. But it does show you the power of, again, just that drip, 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 drip from the narrative makers, the narrative controllers. You wonder why the left seems crazy? That's why. They're being constantly manipulated. All right. All right, so that's it for the Canadian stuff. Let's move on to some American stuff. Although let's maybe go to something a bit lighter for a little bit. I want to go to, what have we got? Let's go to some memes. Let's go to the chat first, and then we'll do some memes. All right. Although we lost most of the chat there when we had the glitch. Nevada says, isn't this guy jobless now? Who's he talking about? No, he's still leader of the Conservative Party. They merged his seat between last election and this one, Pierre Poilievre, with a Liberal district. That's why he lost his seat. It was not the same voter base. But they're having a by-election, so in Alberta, which he's guaranteed to win that. So he'll be able to be in the House of Commons, challenging Mark Carney, if the Parliament's ever in session again, right? Or when it gets back in, they don't just prorogue it again, which I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see. Nevada says, I like him, but thought he lost his seat. Yeah, so no, it's happened before. But no, he'll continue to be the leader of the Conservatives, just from a seat in Alberta instead of Carleton. I mean, the seat was in, for one thing, it's a miracle he held that seat for 20 years. It's in Ottawa, which is the center of the Canadian federal government. But yeah, they merged it with a Liberal neighborhood, and that's what screwed it. That's what screwed them. As he says, yeah, he's waiting for a by-election, but is still leader of the party. Yeah, he'll be fine. And when I say that the leftists hate him, right, it's like it doesn't matter who it is. Trudeau could return as a conservative and be the leader of the Conservative Party, right? And they will hate him. They will call him a fascist, after about 3 nights of that drip, drip, drip from Rosemary Barton's teleprompter. All right, let's do some memes. Let's see. What's this? Your local meme dealer. Americans calling anyone they want. Americans calling anyone they want. Gay and retarded. British people in jail for social media posts. That's the sad thing. That's the sad. I mean, the UK is also a cautionary tale, with Canada coming right behind, right? Mark Carney loves the censorship. He wants to make Canada even worse, even more draconian than the UK. Americans calling anyone they want gay and retarded. That is what it feels like to do that. Look how happy SpongeBob and Patrick are there. It does feel good to do that. It feels great. What else we got? When she looks through your phone and all she finds is how to build a raccoon house. Is it illegal to take raccoons from a park? And what foods do raccoons like? That's me. That's me. It's impossible to see a raccoon video and for a man not to want to have a pet raccoon. It's just fun. Oh, all right. It's funny because it's true. Let's see. We really need to ban fire before someone gets hurt. The first Liberals. Yep. That's pretty much it. Let's see. When I start my first business, I'm only hiring trans women. Men's strength, women's wages, no maternity leave. Well, the thing is that the wage gap is actually a myth anyway, so that won't help them. This is a classic. We've seen this one before, but it's just such a classic. I will not risk offending the left. The left is already offended, whether you would risk it or not. It's true. They really are. They really are. Let's see. What's this? Yep. Socialism. Ideas so good that they have to be mandatory. That must have been at the Freedom Convoy, this picture. What else we got? Oh, that one got removed. And climate change hoax. All right. I want to show you guys something funny. Let's go to, let's see. Where is it? Where is it? I'm going to get rid of a couple of things here. Make some more room. Where is it? Hold on one sec, you guys. Okay. Jesus. That just that is so perfect because it really does expose how ludicrous the whole thing is. I mean, let's go through this again. As opposed to the policies of the dominant culture, everybody has to be a revolutionary.
What does that have to do?
Your son, he feels threatened on a daily basis. He's disenfranchised.
He's disenfranchised. Ah! It does expose how ludicrous it all is. Just how utterly ridiculous. I mean, this bizarre fantasy world.
But because his life is seemingly free from all this, because he can't name it, he's internalizing it.
Name what?
He's internalizing the thing that he can't see or know is happening. So it all makes a ton of sense.
Racism. I think your son's tumor was caused by racism.
I think your son's tumor was caused by racism. That's it. Racism causes tumors now. From internalizing. When you don't notice it and then you internalize it, then it causes tumors. This is a network show. They spent tons of money on this episode, right? These shows, they probably like $500,000 or something just for this one episode or more. This was all okayed. This just got made. Something this ridiculous. This is like if North Korea makes doctor shows. This is the kind of standard they would have. It's actually bizarre to see. I mean, this is just naked propaganda. This is just naked social engineering. I know whoever did this is a genius. That's a brilliant way of exposing it. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about RFK. Hold on one sec. Okay. So we've seen the Carney cabinet, just a clown car of losers and idiots. I look up upon the Trump cabinet with envy because you've got actually, I mean, at the very least, they're just really interesting people. RFK, Tulsi, Elon with Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, like actually talented, interesting people, passionate people, people of principle. They turned, the Republican Party, which is really just MAGA, into a big tent. Like they're the party of heterodoxy now. Like You can have people in there who agree on important things. They don't have to agree on everything. You don't need to have total conformity, unlike with left-wing parties like the Democrats or the illiberal party in Canada. I have to say I have great envy when I see this. Let's take a look.
So do you disagree with the cuts that are being proposed for Medicaid right now?
Oh, the cuts to, this is I don't know if you understand this or whether you're just mouthing, the Democratic talking points. The cuts to Medicaid are for fraud, waste, and abuse. And I'll tell you what that means. It means that because of Doge, we were able to determine, and it's about 8 million people who would be affected. Because of Doge, we were able to determine that there are 1 million people who are claiming Medicaid from multiple states. That's illegal. It's theft. You're not allowed to do that. There are another 1 million people who are collecting both under Obamacare and
Mr. Secretary, that has nothing to do with the budget that's
These are
actually
the only
being
cuts that are
proposed
being
in the
made.
House.
These are the only cuts that are being made to Medicaid.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. There are another 1 million illegal aliens. We announced a law yesterday, a rule yesterday, we're not going to pay illegal aliens anymore. And guess what Gavin Newsom did this morning? He said, we're going to take all the illegal aliens off the California Medicaid rolls because the feds aren't paying for them anymore. So the compassion ends.
Secretary, let me focus you on the actual numbers of the budget that's being proposed. Secretary, I regain my time. I think what you are saying is absolutely inaccurate.
When they say I regain my time, that means you have to stop talking because you're making me look really bad because you're telling the truth.
In terms of the 13 million Americans that will lose access to healthcare. Let me tell you, the folks in my district are not actually getting Medicaid in another state. They can't travel to get it in another state. The clinics that are providing...
That's not at all what RFK Jr. was talking about. That's why he reclaimed his time to spout bullshit.
Providing that life-saving
Let me
care
tell you
are the last resort for folks.
Let me tell you the last category. Last category is adults who are able-bodied, who refuse to look for a job, to volunteer, to get a job, or to show that they are in certain, or to take a part-time job.
I agree with them. That is absolutely not true. The vast majority of folks in a community like mine who are on Medicaid are working. They want to work. People want to be able to make sure that
they're in no danger of losing their Medicaid.
That's just not true. We've seen in time after time, including in Arkansas and Florida and other states, that when you put more red tape, yes, but we've seen this chapter before. When you put more red tape in front of people actually getting that life-saving care, you're going to prevent people from accessing health insurance.
So that is, what does that have what does that have to do with what RFK Jr. is saying? For one thing, putting red tape is not denying anything. If that's even the case, he's probably just making that up, right? But that's not denying anybody anything. Every leftist has this attitude that every single person has to be as weak and as incompetent and it is as incapable of taking care of themselves or even performing the most basic tasks as possible. I guess it's because if they're like that, they'll be totally dependent on people like this.
Medicaid is for poor children, it's for women, for mothers, and it's for the disabled.
It is. And 13 million of those people are going to lose health insurance if this budget becomes law.
They're already losing their health insurance because of all the able-bodied people who are not looking for jobs on Medicaid.
Secretary, I'll just close by saying this. I hope that you remember the...
So RFK is great, right? People like again, it puts the Canadian government to shame when there's people like this. And we're going to get to Tulsi in a minute too. But it just puts actually every other government in the Western world to shame. These people are all-stars. What do we got? We've got, in Canada, we've got people who don't want you to have a car because the world's going to burn if you go, if you drive to work. In Canada, we've got the eco-lunatic Guilbeault. We've got the justice minister who's going to work from home. It's pathetic. And it's amazing that RFK can stay as calm as he does. Because, like, I think he's probably on testosterone. If you see him, he's jacked, right? I'll do an impersonation. What if he just did this? If he just said, I'm jacked, and if you don't shut up, I'm going to come up there and drag you out to the parking lot where I have a vat of beef tallow on the back of my truck, and I'm going to hold your head in the delicious beef tallow until you drown in the beefy goodness. I would love it if he did that. That would be an iconic moment if he threatened to drag that man out to the parking lot, to dunk his head, to hold his head in a vat of delicious beef tallow. We can only hope. We can only dream. Anyway, that guy is full of shit. This is a good one, too, actually. Hold on. Benny Johnson posted this. Holy smokes, RFK Jr. is going off on Democrat members of Congress. Talking about food dye here. Okay, let's hear this.
Anybody thinks that we did gold standard medicine in this country from these institutions, look at our children. They're the sickest children in the world. Laura, you say that excuse me, Congressman DeLauro, you say that you've worked for 20 years on getting food dye out. Give me credit. I got it out in 100 days.
I'll give you that credit.
All right, so let's work together and do something that we all believe in, which is have healthy kids in our country, for God's sake. We
Miss
can all do
Dean.
that together. It's not, there's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. There's just kids, and we should all be be concerned with them.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ms. Dean.
Mr. Secretary.
Anybody thinks that we did gold standard.
Yeah, the problem is that they don't want to work together. They just want to win, right? With the modern left, it's just power. That's why he's no longer a Democrat anymore. Why Tulsi's no longer a Democrat. Why Elon's no longer a Democrat, right? They don't want to work together. They just want to win. It's just power. Just power. And that's what is unique about the Trump administration. Clearly. I mean, when you've got people crossing the aisle, like this guy, like Tulsi, like Elon, right? Like that tells you something is different. All right, let's move on. Let's see. So here's Tulsi. So this is very interesting. Again, she's another all-star. Wall Street Apes posted this. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, confirms Anthony Fauci sought a preemptive pardon because he lied under oath about funding the COVID pandemic. Well, that's just a fact at this point. I mean, there's no argument about that. There shouldn't be. It's just a demonstrable fact now. I mean, they have his emails, for God's sakes. Let's take a look.
Then we did fund it. Then Anthony Fauci helped fund the pandemic.
The thing
in
that
charge
he
of fighting.
denied over and over and over to Senator Rand Paul's questioning.
That's right. Under oath.
Under oath, exactly. So is it any wonder that he sought a preemptive pardon for anything during a certain period of time by President Biden before he left office?
And then we did fund it. Then Anthony Fauci
So I'm going to watch this one more time.
helped fund the pandemic.
The
He was
thing
in
that
charge of
he
fighting.
denied over and over and over to Senator Rand Paul's questioning.
That's right. Under oath.
Under oath, exactly. So is it any wonder that he sought a preemptive pardon for anything during a certain period of time by President Biden before he left office?
And then we did fund it. Then Anthony.
It's so amazing that they managed to basically deify that guy when it's demonstrably true that he's a liar, right? He did fund gain of function research. He did fund gain of function research. Like he did try and engineer a fake story about the origins of it. I mean, it's in his emails, right? That resulted in stories like from CNN, the headline, that lab leak theory is like something out of a comic book. He knew that was false. I mean, he's just a demonstrable liar, just a bad person. I mean, let's not even talk about the damn puppies. It's amazing. They just seem to deify the worst, most horrible people, don't they? It's an amazing thing. Let's see. Okay, we don't have anything else new about Tulsi. Let's move on. How about Elon? So, Victor Davis Hanson. And actually, before we get there, let's go back to the chat for a minute. I want to see what you guys have to say about that stuff. Let's see. Nevada said, I'm glad he will stick around. Talk about Poilievre there. As he says, pretty much sums it up. Mandatory policies needed because people that think for themselves are evil. That's leftist authoritarianism in a nutshell there. Izzy says, was that the real audio, less the laugh track? Yes, that was the actual show. It was a show called, I believe, New Amsterdam Doctor Show. That was real. That was real social engineering you saw there on network TV. Streamer says, just wow. Streamer says, this is a good clip. I think you're talking about RFK Jr. there. He may as well have said, I don't know if you're stupid and uneducated on the facts of the matter or are just a disingenuous ass. It's just a parade. All of those things, those all those hearings, they're just a parade of disingenuous asses every single time. Nevada says, RFK has really impressed me because he's a man of principle, right? Spambot says, RFK is speaking truth. There are no liberal or conservative children. They are just kids. True. Spambot says, interesting. Toronto won tonight, going to Game 7. You know what? I don't watch NHL in the regular season anymore. I used to be a sports fanatic, and I had to stop watching it. I really stopped watching around 2020 when everything got really political, the BLM stuff. I just stopped watching all team sports. In fact, I stopped watching everything except for boxing, because boxing is at least very, very, very rarely political. And I discovered that my life was much better. And that also kind of, and that was, I think I was about a year and a half or a couple of years sober at that point. So, and that's when I started doing the channel. And, I was really, really glad. I mean, I feel bad now for having wasted so much time. Like, it's like 3, whatever team you're following, it's like 3 games a week. And then if you're also watching, football on the weekend, and it's too much. So now I watch boxing. I watch it on Saturdays. If there's a big fight on Friday, sometimes there is a good fight on Friday, I'll record it, watch it the next day, or just skip it. But Saturday is my sports day. It's combat sports. It's boxing. And if not boxing, I'll sometimes watch UFC as well. But I've gotten drawn a little bit back into the playoffs because I do want to see a Canadian team win, an NHL Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. So I've been drawn back in. My kids got me back into it a bit because they like watching hockey. So, the only time I ever see them is to get together and watch a hockey game. But I really don't watch regular season, but I get pulled back in the playoffs, and just any Canadian team I would like to see win the cup. I haven't won a cup since 93. It's just a stain on Canada's honor. So I was watching that game right up until the last couple of minutes, and I figured, well, they probably had it. So going to Game 7, who knows what will happen there. Bembot says, don't watch it. Rosie says, good idea on RFK impression. I didn't offend anybody with that, did I? It's so fun to do, though, to talk about beef tallow. He's really into it. All right. All right, we did the memes. Did we do the memes? Yeah, we did the memes. All right, we've done all the memes. Let's go back into South Africa for a little bit. So we did the big segment on that, I think, on the last live stream on the Tuesday night one. I turned that into like a 20 or 25 minute clip video, which is really good. If you guys missed it, you guys should check it out. I think it's very good. Not many people have watched it, unfortunately, but it is really kind of a very mask off moment for the left, that it's just about they're racist. They're just racist, right? And, the white leftists have an out-group preference, and it's just very mask off. Breaking. South African government will consider it as treasonous to discuss treatment of white people. Applies to politicians and citizens. This will not change the mind of a single leftist.
And all their inner circles here in Parliament who went to the United States to spin a narrative of victimhood of white people being murdered.
Narrative of victimhood. Hold on a second. Wait a second. What's this? Hold on. Narrative of victimhood. Well, this is Julius Malema, leader of the EFF, one of the largest political parties in South Africa. Here he is talking to a giant stadium full of tens of thousands of people. I wonder what he's saying.
Alliance, shoot to kill, Hamaza, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer.
Let's see, shoot to kill the boar, the farmer. And what was this guy saying again? So it's a giant stadium, tens of thousands of people all chanting, shoot to kill the boar, the farmer. What was this guy saying?
And all their inner circles here in Parliament who went to the United States to spin a narrative of victimhood of white people.
Spin a narrative of victimhood. Stadium full of tens of thousands of people chanting, shoot, shoot to kill the boar, the farmer. Spinning a narrative, he says.
Being murdered by blacks, mobilizing the United States government to interfere in the domestic affairs of our country. What measures, if any, have you used to scrutinize these treasonous acts of white right-wing racist extremist movements, especially in relations to how they are funded, so as to protect the imminent threat of civil war in South Africa? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
I think it's pretty obvious that they're planning to try and genocide the white people in South Africa. I mean, clearly where it's going. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Shoot to kill the boar. I mean, they're kind of saying it. Let's see. Mask off. Race baiter Sonny Hostin foams at the mouth over Trump helping South African refugees because they're white. It's mask off. It turns out they're just bigots after all, even though we already knew that.
I want to talk about why this administration is giving refugee status to South African white Afrikaners as opposed to Afghans and Ukrainians and people of color.
That's it. It was 60, and that's too many for them. No, can't even take 60. They're white. No, there's all these other people in the world. You have to take them. They're white. You can't take them. That's racist. It's racist if they're white. 60, 20 million. 20 million crossed the borders under Biden. They were fine with that. They liked it. They thought it was great. 60 from South Africa. 60. Not 60 million. Not 6 million. Not 600,000. Not even 6,000. Not even 600. 60. And that's too much for Sonny Hostin. She's just a bigot. It's mask off. Mask off. From Defiant Tells, the left, there's no genocide, you racists. Well, by the standards, first off, that word genocide has been so overused and misused that it doesn't mean anything anymore. But by the standards of the left, sure, you could use it. By their standards, of course you can, right? They say there's a trans genocide in the States. That makes no sense. Certainly in Canada, I mean, Trudeau told us that Canada's in a perpetual state of genocide. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. All of a sudden now they don't like that word being used. It's interesting. Certainly that's where it's heading. I wonder what this guy has to say about it.
We'll kill the children, we'll kill the women, we'll kill anything that we find.
We'll kill their women, we'll kill their children, we'll kill anything. That sounds genocidal to me.
On our women rights, we kill the children, we kill the women, we kill their dogs, we kill their cats.
We kill their women, their children, their dogs, their cats. What did Sonny Hostin have to say?
Is giving refugee status to South African white Afrikaners.
White Afrikaners. She just can't handle it. 60's too many. They're white, didn't you know? Didn't you know they're white? I mean, at this point, I mean, I have no doubt that she knows nothing, that there's nothing she knows that doesn't come off a piece of paper that her producer gave her right before the show, or that comes off of her teleprompter, right? If she does know anything more than that, if she's seen this video, for instance, and she still says this, she's just evil. So that's really what it comes down to, right? There's only ever two choices. Now, it seems like for, the progressive, empathetic left is that they're either ignorant or evil. It's like, communists, right? They're either totally ignorant. They have no idea the history. They have not an iota of knowledge of 20th century history, or they're evil, or they do know and they want it and they're evil. So yeah, there's a little bit of joy from that. Oh, good Lord. 3 hours in. Thanks for hanging around, you guys. All right. Do we have enough people right now to do it? We don't. We can't even do another ad right now. Damn it. All right. Let's see. Nevada says, always the same story in Africa. Kill the white farmers, steal their land, then bitch when they are starving to death. Well, Zimbabwe did that. Zimbabwe ended up with $21 trillion, a $21 trillion bill. That's how the worst inflation in history. So they were printing like literally $1 trillion bills. Not just like 1 trillion either. It was like 20 something trillion. One bill. And they've ended up having to try and ask the white farmers to go back because it was such a disaster. And South Africa is heading the same way. All the parties there are all communist. ANC, the ANC is a communist party. That Julius Malema, that's literally a communist party. It's no big surprise. The white man they should hate is Karl Marx. For some reason they don't, though. Nevada says they will be begging for aid soon again, but that's just inevitable, right? Dame Pam, Africa had best take heed as many countries could nuke them if they keep being so racist and killing. Nobody's going to nuke them. The media, if the worst does happen and they do start an actual attempt at genocide, which I think is entirely possible, Western media will ignore it. They will gaslight on it. And unfortunately, nobody will do anything. I think that you got to try and get out. If I were there, I'd try to get the hell out. Now, they have deep roots. They've been there since, their ancestors have been there since, I think 1647 were the first ones. They don't want to leave, but it's getting dicey there. Let's see. I think Canada should take as many South Africans as possible, to be honest. I mean, like we've seen the footage, like they are in danger. Let's see. So let's get into the Qatar plane. I mean, here's the thing. This shows you back onto the South Africa thing, right? Like, I don't like identitarianism. I think this was a terrible mistake for the West. It seemed like we were getting past that. They would really embrace the whole, content of character thing. And then it all just academia, that, the seeds planted by academia just pumping out, generation after generation from these indoctrination factories that we call, post-secondary education, universities, colleges, just turned it around and just decided, nope, the most important thing is your skin color. And then it just became identity, sexual orientation, whatever, just separating everybody into these faceless identity blobs. And this is just a tragedy. We didn't have to go that way. It's a tragedy, but if the empathy on the left meant anything, if they really meant it, they would look at these videos and say, yes, these people are in grave danger, right? You've got major politicians in their country saying, like, calling on an audience of tens of thousands all at once to kill them. This is how you know that they don't mean any of it, right? Like, they don't actually, none of what they say is anti-racism. None of it's anti-racism. It's just racism. It's what everybody used to understand as actual racism. It's really just a tragedy for the Western civilization that we took this insane turn. And it is going to, having divided societies, divided into different interest groups who only care about themselves and their own interests, in a civilization that's just dominated by resentment and hate and sectarianism, okay, is not going to provide us with that, beautiful utopian Star Trek future we were all hoping for. We were watching Star Trek: The Next Generation in the 90s. It means that a poor world, it means a halt to technological advancement. It means a reduction in human well-being. Nothing else can come of it. Nothing else can come of the identitarian dysfunction that we seem so determined to inflict upon ourselves. It's total insanity. In any case, I think Western civilization's pretty great. I think that we shouldn't have decided that, we're guilty of, uniquely guilty of all the world's sins for all of time, past, future, present. I think that's idiotic. I think in Canada, multiculturalism was a massive mistake. Just saying, we'll just be whatever anybody else says. Justin Trudeau told us that we're the first post-national country, whatever that's supposed to mean. Not even really a country. We have no core identity. We don't even really deserve to be a country. We'll just be whatever anybody who showed up 5 minutes ago will just be that. I don't think that many Canadians really would have agreed. if they'd really been given any choice in that, saying, no, I don't think Western civilization is terrible. I think it's fantastic. I think it's the pinnacle of human achievement. It's the pinnacle of human well-being. And it's not even close. Maybe we can actually preserve Western civilization and Western culture and be proud of it. We don't have to pretend that anything else is better just because a fucking communist told us so. Anyway, I mean, we're just being, forget it. Let's just move on. I could rant about it all night. All right. Trump's statement about the Qatar plane gift. As I said, this is not his plane. So Qatar gifted a plane to the United States, not to Donald Trump personally. All right. Here's what he wrote. The Boeing 747 is being given to the United States Air Force Department of Defense, not to me. It is a gift from a nation, Qatar, that we have successfully defended for many years. It will be used by our government as a temporary Air Force One until such time as our new Boeings, which are very late on delivery, arrive. He always likes to stick it to Boeing a bit, doesn't he? Why should our military, and therefore our taxpayers, be forced to pay hundreds of millions of dollars when they can get it for free from a country that wants to reward us for a job well done? This big savings will be spent instead to make America great again. Only a fool would not accept this gift on behalf of our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. When I first heard about this, I thought, I don't know, maybe you just say thanks, but no thanks on this one. But really, why? I mean, look, there is one thing in that, this isn't a personal gift to Trump, obviously, right? It's to the United States government. You would think, if they're going to use it as Air Force One, there are some security concerns. Like you have to go over the thing with a fine-tooth comb about 1 million times. I mean, I don't know, trackers, bugs, whatever. I mean, you'd have to be, if you're a Qatar, you'd have to be kind of insane to do that, but you don't know if there's some operative from another country that somehow gets it. I don't know. I'm just saying there's some obvious security concerns there. How much of a friend really is Qatar, though? That's the thing. I mean, I know they're doing some big business. Where is it? Hold on. Let me just refresh this. So, from the Kobisi letter, this is wild. President Trump's 4-day trip to the Middle East just raised $2.5 trillion in capital for the U.S. United Arab Emirates, $1.4 trillion, Saudi Arabia, $600 billion, and Qatar, $500 billion. So he's very happy about that, right? He's trying to bring investment to the United States, particularly to manufacturing, to repopulate that hollowed out industrial plant in the United States. So we'll be happy about that. So that's a good thing. He seems very happy. He's the businessman. This is business. He's happy about it. But Qatar Qatar, it's not that much of a friend to the states, right? A state that supports Hamas and provides refuge to the terror group's leaders is the #1 foreign donor to American universities, $3.2 billion since 2012. So when you take a look at universities, and do I have, where is it? Hold on a second. I got to look for something. Give me one sec. Okay. Where do I find it? One sec, you guys. It's getting late. What time is it now? All right. There it is. All right. So, Qatar is giving massive amounts of money to American universities. You can bet it's going to places like Harvard that have this pyramid of white supremacy. This is the sort of like civilization destroying, Western civilization destroying poison that's being fire hosed on students at certainly every single Ivy League institution in the States, and just generally across universities, colleges, across the Western world. Like, it's not an accident that that's happening. And if you take a look at Qatar, I mean, 3.2 billion, that money is not going to, young Republicans clubs at universities, at Harvard, right? Let's see how Qatar bought America. It's not just the 747. A free press investigation reveals that the Gulf state has spent almost $100 billion across Congress, colleges, think tanks, and corporations. What does it want in return? So, yeah, they're getting a gift. Trump is happy with it. I mean, take a look at this. 400 million VIP, luxurious aircraft, flying palace. Let's take a look. Yeah, you can see why Trump likes it, right? That's pretty nice. That's nicer than my house. This is way nicer than my house. That's beautiful. I mean, Trump's gonna like this. Why is there skulls, though, all along there? That's pretty weird. I didn't notice that the first time. That's all like skulls. That's kind of strange. Can this actually be the plane? Now I'm starting to wonder, is that real? I mean, this looks like it would be. Why would you have a skull room on a plane? That's a bit weird. Huh. Maybe I should have researched that a bit more. I don't know. But in any case, yeah, there's a lot going on with Qatar. I'm not sure. I think maybe that, the most prudent thing to do would have just said no thanks and just be done with it. Don't really need it. I guess, I get it. I guess why you'd want it. I don't understand why Trump would want that. He just sees it as a deal. He's getting a deal, right? Maybe you just say no, though. Considering Qatar is, although, also with the huge investment in the United States, that's really going to put Trump over the edge there. So I don't know. I mean, who am I to say? But it's more complicated than they just gave him a free plane. All right. You know what, you guys? This is crazy. I think I got to take another break for a minute. Just for a minute. Too much rant juice. All right, everybody. Let me find a good show for you guys to watch. Well, here's a show about fixing your knife. So if you're out hiking or whatever, and you hit your knife with a piece of wood and the handle breaks off, this instructional video shows you how to fix it. And that is the only thing this video is about. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. There's one thing I neglected on that story about the Trump Qatar airplane and the money they're spending in the United States at universities. We're gonna have to go back to that for a second. But anybody who's not subscribed to the channel right now. Super important. Also, liking the stream, big deal. Everybody's doing it right now, so you don't want to be left behind. You also get free good karma when you either subscribe or like the stream. Why would you turn your nose up at that in these troubled times? Obviously not. So, over $3 billion donated to American universities from Qatar. Of course, it's going to stuff like this, the pyramid of white supremacy, stuff that's meant to undermine the foundations of the country. But where do we have? I just want to show you a clip of. Let's see. Where do we have it? Hold on. So much woke mind virus stuff. But when you see the protests at the universities, the flags, the Palestinian flags, the chanting, the craziness, that's obviously the Hamas support. That's obviously a result of money flowing in from places like Qatar. Right? The brainwashing of the students to that. That's obviously another result. So when you see all the lunacy at the universities, you can thank places like Qatar for contributing to that, knowing very well what they're doing. Now let's move on. And actually, what are you guys saying in the chat? Let's get back to the chat for a second. Spam bot's fading badly. I know, me too. More rant juice. More rant juice. Yep, that's the stuff. All right, let's just move on. Nevada says she's a darling of a knife fixer. She is. She's great. Mickey, how you doing? Late. Well, we're still going to be going for a little while. Good to see you. All right. Nevada sure could use some energy, though. What kind of energy are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that's got enough oomph, enough power to give us the kind of energy that we need to get through a 3-hour and 20-minute stream.
Gave them energy. Gave them energy. Gave them energy. Gave them energy.
I can do it. I can do it. I've got the they them energy now. Let's see. So maybe we'll save this one because I am starting to fade a little bit. This is Germany. It turns out that they lied about the AfD being extremist. They don't actually have any evidence of this. I think we'll leave that for next time, actually. I don't think we can do it. Let's go to the last tab. And we'll just look at the last stuff. And how is this woman even alive still? Even alive. I mean, apparently Grok says that you could live for up to a year with no food, just with water, if you had that much fat. Your body could survive for a year with no food, just like, that can't be right, but certainly a couple of months. Certainly a couple of months. I don't know. Why that? That's not the button that I wanted. There we go. I had no choice. She bent over. Let's see. Timcast News, the very fine people hoax continues to deceive liberals. Well, the thing is, they want to be deceived, right? They just want total conformity with all the other leftists in their bubble, and they don't want the discomfort of, having to disagree because they're all ready to immediately struggle session each other the second they step out of line. So they just don't want to. They don't want reality. They don't want truth. They don't care, ultimately. It's just fashion. It's just smugness like this. Let's take a look.
Bro, Donald Trump dumped food into a fish pond after Shinzo Abe did. Why are you trying to make that a negative
I don't even
story?
know what that
It was
we're
like
talking about there.
it's all of these hoaxes. The very fine people hoax.
I mean, I remember the line. Yeah,
Trump never called Nazis fine people.
He said there were very fine people on both sides,
except the neo-Nazis and white nationalists who should be condemned totally.
He said that.
Holy shit.
This is the difference between the left and the right now. He has no idea. That's like 9 years ago. He has no idea because he's never exposed to anything outside of his bubble because the culture is so saturated with leftness. So entertainment, but also news, like corporate news is just you've got one channel, Fox, right? That he's never going to watch. If you're going to exist within the culture, you're going to know everything that the left thinks, right? But you can also go to alternative sources as well. You could watch Fox News. Fox News isn't perfect, but at least it's a counterpoint to literally every other news on TV. You can go to, I don't know, Daily Wire. You can go to Breitbart, you can go to independent media and find out alternatives. Find out, you can actually fact check, for instance, right? You can see at least alternative opinions, but you can also see, for instance, like a full clip. Instead of, a 5-second clip of Trump, you can see the entire clip. So you know what the left thinks, but you also know what you think. Like you also have an alternative to the left, right? You've seen the 5-second clip. You've also seen the 10-second clip. That's how you know that Trump said, except for white supremacists and Nazis. He only ever sees the 5-second clip. He doesn't need to look up any other news. He does it because the culture is already saturated in the narratives that he's living in. He has no idea what the people on the other side think. So he can just remain the smugness it's almost the smugness is totally endemic on the left at this point. And it's because they literally don't know anything. They're just surrounded with other people who only see one side of everything all the time and are constantly holding each other up and bolstering each other and supporting each other in just all being in total conformity of opinion and view. Let's take a look.
Brother,
I don't live in your bubble, man.
You don't live in the fucking news, dude. Come the fuck on. You don't read the fucking news. This is what fucking blows my mind.
No, I just don't have
No,
obsessions.
Trump did not call neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. Bro, it's been almost 10 years and you still think he did. That's what's fucked up.
I didn't say I think he did. I just don't know what you're talking about because I don't listen to your shit.
It's not about listening to my shit, bro. It's reading the news. It's fact checking. Bro, I got Snopes for you. They're not a conservative publication. Even Snopes was like, guys, I
don't know why you're shouting at me. I was just asking you to explain.
Because the issue we have, and I apologize, because I'm not trying to shout at you. I'm shouting in exasperation that we've had two liberals on in the past 2 weeks who didn't know this. And I'm just like, for the love of all is holy, all I do all day is I read probably 500 news articles every single day from CNN, the New York Times, MSNBC, and all their aggregates. And then liberals come on and they believe things that were debunked 8 years ago.
I didn't say I believed it. I was just asking what you were talking about.
You didn't know this.
Yeah, I don't know everything that you know.
But this is what Biden launched his campaign on. Biden made a public announcement to launch his presidency in 2020 off of this lie. And you didn't know that. 5 years later.
I don't know why you're getting on me about this, but
again, I apologize. I'm not trying to get on you. It's the exasperation largely with.
Thing is, he doesn't care. They don't care. They don't care what's real. They care what's fashionable. Right? They care what's not going to get them in trouble with the other leftists because they know the other leftists are ready to pounce on them and struggle session them at a moment's notice. In fact, they're all waiting for the opportunity to do so. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He will go back. He will say, you could show him this. He could go on a different show tomorrow, right? And he'll say that, oh, I didn't know that. In one ear, out the other. Doesn't care. It's not important. What's important is the label. Democrat, liberal, leftist, progressive, whatever. It doesn't matter. They don't care, right? We've just seen this in the Canadian election. They don't care. And the smugness, you can't get worse than the Brantford boomer with his middle finger. It's one thing you notice is the smugness of the people who just don't care what's reality. They when reality confronts them, when reality asserts themselves, they just have a smug little smile and turn away. They don't care. They'd rather believe the fantasy. They'd rather believe the thing that is not going to get them in trouble with the other people in their bubble. That's it. This is a perfect example of that. They don't care. That's why it's impossible to convince them of anything. That's why it seems to be such a waste of time trying to have a discussion with them. They don't care. They don't care if they're wrong. It's not wrong if the people that are in their circle agree with them and they won't get in trouble. They don't care. Anyway, pretty dumb. Streamer says it's much easier to not even bother trying to find out anything on. It's just safer if you're on the left. Like they don't get. None of them care about what's real. Izzy says, and he'll continue to spread the lie. Yes, because it doesn't matter. The lie is cool, right? So he wants to be cool. Like he wants to go with the political winds, the political fashion in his bubble. So yeah, he'll keep spreading the lie. He'll spread it because it feels right and he knows the people around him will like it. Oli London, AOC posts mukbang video filming herself eating food to appeal to Gen Z social media users. The Democrat Congresswoman has been floated as a potential Democrat candidate for President Trump in 2028. Yeah, you had Trump with the famous, taco bowl thing, but he wasn't doing this. This is like a mukbang video. This is like one of those videos for weirdos that get off on watching women eat food. This is just weird. She is going to be the president. I don't know. That would be the end of Western civilization. She becomes president. That's the end. It's over. It's over. Let's see. What's this? Oh, yeah, we already saw that. Katie Hopkins. So she's from the UK. She is hated by leftists in the UK, and you'll see why. And I think she's quite good. So I haven't watched this yet. I'll be watching this with you for the first time. Let's take a look.
Breaking news here in Batshit Bonkers, Britain, where Trump has managed to annoy all of the strict Muslims across Great Britain and France and Germany by coming out on stage in Saudi to the strain of YMCA. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is obviously a bit of a legend. Never has one gay anthem been used so brilliantly to annoy so many men dressed in a white gown, a slide and a sock. In other news, the BBC has a dating show called I Kissed a Boy, except obviously they've had to insert a trans boy, i.e. a biological woman. And none of the contestants can complain about that because that would be transphobic, even though you can't really be transphobic now because the Supreme Court just said that you can only be a woman if you're a biological woman. Either which way, it's Tim Davie at the BBC that you need to complain to. And finally, Stacey Solomon. I was sticking up for her the other day when people were being mean about her family, but now she's moaning that she didn't get a BAFTA for that crappy TV show, Sort Your Life Out, where basically you go into people's homes that have got too much. You put all the into plastic tubs and containers into places where no one can ever reach it anymore. And that's the TV show if you're thick as But I would say this, Stace, it's not bloody hard work, is it, love? You're not tidying the interdental brushes in the supermarket shelves at night time, are you, love? Maybe it's you that needs to sort your life out. That's it. Bonkers Britain.
Yeah, she does these little updates on batshit bonkers Britain. Yeah, she's like, I think, persona non grata in the British media now. She's just too, you know what? She's too real. She's too real. She's great. Let's see. Rosie says, Katie is funny. She is. Dame Pam says, Katie Hopkins is great. Yep. Rosie says about AOC, she is not presidential. That's how you know that it's just over. Like, just Western civilization is over. If she becomes president, it's just done. Just put a fork in it. It's done. Let's see. Dame Pam says, Katie is also a veteran. I didn't know that, actually. Nevada says, that is good stuff. I think we're almost at the end now. So let's see. From Alpha Fox, taking your date swimming is a prerequisite for a first date in 2025. Well, let's find out why. Let's take a look.
You're making a big mistake.
I know.
Please.
Yeah, sure.
No.
Oh, no. Who is that?
It's me, Eva.
Get away from me! Oh, what's it? Grab my hand off here!
You're making a big mistake.
I know.
Please.
Yeah.
It's a minefield out there, boys. Be careful, boys. Be careful. Be careful. Let's see. Nature is amazing. This cat is the definition of a hero. Let's take a look. Oh, can't do music. Gotta turn that off. Let's watch. So what's happening? So that dog is, ooh, yikes. That dog was shaking his friend around. That cat is a hero. His friend was a goner there if he didn't show up. Brave cat. I like it. That's an example to us all. That cat is an example to us all. All right, what else we got? I can't run. You know what's coming, you guys. I don't want to do this. But I don't have any choice. It's the internet.
Is it start? Is it on?
Yeah.
Hey guys, take two. I fucked up a kneecap. I'm going down this motherfucker. I can't run though, so.
What is she doing?
Is it start? Is it on?
I didn't want to do that. But I don't make the rules. It's the internet. I have to do it. And it's on the soundboard, so I have to press the button. I want to. I'm better than that, but, you know. Let's see. Ricky Gervais is getting backlash because of his comments on a podcast. So leftists do get mad at him, but he's kind of grandfathered in, so he can get away with it. They can't get rid of him. And he's got too much money, kind of like J.K. Rowling.
Sort of target words and safe zones. People don't want to hear anything, a word that they don't like.
How arrogant are you to think that you deserve to go through life with no one ever saying anything that you don't agree with or like?
It's sort of target words and safe zones. People don't want to hear anything, a word that they don't like.
How arrogant are you to think that you deserve to go through life with no one ever saying anything that you don't agree with or like?
It's a sort of target.
So, well, yes. How arrogant are you to think you deserve to go through life with no one ever saying anything that you don't agree with or like? Well, that's what happens when you tell young people that their feelings are the most important thing and everything in the world is against you and everything's unfair and your character doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is your identity. That's what happens. Now, that's Lawrence Krauss, and he was a very popular science educator, as well as he's I think a physicist. He's written some books, but he was a very popular science educator. He used to do stuff with, I think, Richard Dawkins a lot. And he was also one of the atheists, you know, was he one of the four atheists of the apocalypse or whatever they call them? I don't know. Four horsemen of atheism or something. I don't know. Anyway, but he has kind of disappeared from public view because he got Me Too'd. And I think it was just basically because he's just being like an awkward scientist who like doesn't know how to act around women. I think that's what happened. But he's starting to make a reemergence. And I think he's actually quite a lefty too, actually, anyway. So I think it was like a case of the left eating themselves. He's, you know, I used to watch years ago, I used to be one of those obnoxious atheists, one of those militant atheists. I consider myself to just be like an agnostic now. I'm quite ashamed, actually, of my arrogance of those younger days. And I used to like watch him and Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris. I mean, I was very into all of that. Now, it's not that everything they've done is terrible. It's just that the atheism stuff I find now very, very distasteful. You know, Richard Dawkins wrote a good book called, what was it called? It's about evolution called The Something Watchmaker, The Blind Watchmaker, I think it was called. And which is a really good book, but in a biology book. Even Sam Harris, he wrote a really good book about lying called Lying. It's very short, more like a pamphlet, really. He wrote a good book about mindfulness called I can't remember what it's called. It's getting tired. I've been going for almost 4 hours. He wrote a good book about mindfulness. It's the name of his app. I can't remember what it's called. He wrote an interesting book, which I ultimately disagree with, called The Moral Landscape. Interesting. I think it's deeply flawed, and I think it gives some clues as to why he turned into what he has become now. But yeah, anyway, my point being that I used to follow all these guys quite a bit, and I'm kind of, I'm kind of very sad that I kind of bought into the arrogant, incredibly arrogant, militant atheist bullshit. I don't think I know everything anymore. So that's good. Better person. Let's see. From Jebra Fauché. Many people have no idea about the Indian version of Titanic, which is just as compelling as the American film. The musical score adds so much to this brief scene. Well, I guess we'll have to let the music play on this one. And YouTube will just have to deal with it. So this is the Indian Titanic movie. Let's take a look.
Night in night.
Oh, it's tragic. They all moved to Toronto, all of them. Everyone in that boat ended up moving to Toronto. Toronto or Vancouver. Let's see. When there's no sheep to herd. These are great dogs. Border Collies are great dogs. They just want a job so badly. Gotta love it. Is that it? We're done. We are done, folks. Let's get to the chat quickly. We'll put on another instructional video. These are all good videos. There's a boat video. This is a good video. All right, let's get to the chat. Another boat video. Okay. Dame Pam says AOC and Carney must be good friends as they both want net zero. You know, I've shown you guys videos of Carney praising Greta Thunberg as this inspirational leader. I don't know if this was before or after she revealed that it's actually just capitalism that she hates. And also she is dedicating her life to being pro-Hamas, advocating for Hamas. So I don't know if it was before or after. I'm sure he approves of it all anyway. Got lots of good things to say about Karl Marx. So yeah, I mean, if he's not friends with AOC, I'm sure that he will be. They'll be close friends. Let's see. Nevada said, looks like a weeble. Was that Lawrence Krauss? Extremely arrogant. Let's see. Streamer says, that poor engine. Rosie goes, LOL. It was funny. That was great. Streamer says it deserved better. Rosie says, the only difference is no orchestra. Exactly. That's the only thing that's missing there. Otherwise, it's exactly the same thing. Nevada says, burn this video. Video Streamer says, I say noodles will never leave my heart. I know, but we have to, the absence makes the heart grow fonder. So occasionally we have to leave noodles, the noodle lady, and just give it a bit of space, a bit of time, you know? Rosie says, JJ hates this boat video. I know. Why does he hate it? I don't know. Are you being white supreme by only showing boats? Oh. Are you being white supreme? That's funny. Sandwich Girl. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes I got to hold him back for a little bit. And then everybody will enjoy it even more. All right. So I guess that's it. We do not have enough people for the next ad, sadly. Very, very sadly. But that's okay. That's okay. All right, everybody. All right. It's the end of the Friday Night Radio Baloney Live. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank Spambot for adding on, what was that, like 70 more free memberships for the channel. Awesome. Really, really amazing. I want to thank everybody else who's in the chat. As you guys know, if it weren't for you guys, you're basically half the show at least now. If it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't bother doing this because I'd just be ranting out to a cold and different universe. And that would be depressing. But because you guys are here, it's not depressing. So I'll keep doing it. Everybody have a great weekend. I'm going to, before we go, anybody who's watching who's not subscribed, subscribe to the channel right now. Super important. Also liking the stream. Big deal. Everybody's doing it. I'm going to do a video on the EV mandates starting next year in Canada. They're totally batshit crazy. But this deserves its own thing. I might do it as just a Rumble Premium standalone stream. Probably the best way to do it. Because then after that, if I ramble too much, I can cut it down into, a clip video that's not premium only, but that will be more digestible and a little more fluid, a little smoother. So I do need to do that at some point. I'll try and let you guys know ahead of time when I'm going to do that. I don't think it will be tomorrow. We'll be back on Sunday, 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern time for our regularly scheduled stream. And then maybe Monday we'll do that. We'll do like a 6 o'clock or a 7 o'clock premium only stream. I think with those, typically I would start free for the first half hour or, open to anybody for the first half hour and then move it into premium only after that. So we shall see. But in any case, everybody have a great weekend. Have a great sleep tonight. It's really late over on the East Coast, so thanks for hanging in there with me, and we'll see you on Sunday. Good night, everyone.